Today, what if we are all actually just dittos in our own little Pokopia? This is ChillPoint.
If I'm in my own private Pokopia, does that mean that like we don't actually ever get to interact and see each other? Because there's only been the one Ditto in Pokopia.
They have islands where you can
go back and forth.
You can go meet with your friends.
Oh right, this is supposed to be a multiplayer-ish game, isn't it?
You can have the multiplayer, yeah.
Right, you can meet everybody.
So you think of it like having your own space, but you can still go hang out with your friends.
Oh, like I live in a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an island.
But sometimes I leave my house.
And you destroy other people's old houses.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's like Animal Crossing, right? Where you can like invite people to your...
Yeah, I think so. I haven't played it yet, and you know.
Hey, I want to get this out there right now because I posted it on YouTube, but I thought I'd just say it out loud for everybody else's benefit. To anybody out there who is currently pointing out all of the Pokemon that apparently can speak English to you, I'm sorry for the inaccuracies, Dr. Yif.
I've heard this line like 3 times now.
You're proud of saying what Dr. Yif?
It's a reference to a Tumblr conversation that got turned into a comic full of Pokemon, and I find it extremely funny to this day.
I do find,
but you say it in such an angry way.
Yeah, well, I think that's how it's supposed to be said. It's the look on Pukicho's face is like, I'm sorry for the inaccuracies, Dr. Yif.
I do enjoy the people coming forward and being like, no. It's not just that, like, you know, it's like, oh, in this game though a bunch of them talk.
Yes.
But there's a couple of Pokemon that are like specifically Lucario.
He's psychic.
Apparently, is like specifically known to be like psychically talking to people.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's been a while since.
And a bunch of people cited that. I feel like there are certain Pokemon that people have a vested interest in
absolutely.
deciding whether or not they can speak.
So I am aware of that.
I
am aware that one Meowth taught itself language. Like I am aware that is like not all Meowths can talk. Only that one has demonstrated the ability to actually converse in English.
And let's be fair, that Meowth is probably Ace.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know if this is accurate, but according to one of the YouTube comments, apparently that Meowth learned English because it fell in love with a human.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not Ace though. That's not Ace though. That's not Arrow.
That's true. I feel like the current classifications of relationships and sexuality and romance don't take into account cross-species situations.
Yeah, like there's
we may need to invent a whole new set of categories.
It feels like there's only like a few real instances of sexual dimorphism that have like caught on in popularity in the Pokemon community. Like I think Latios and Latias are just like color flips of each other, but like Pikachu, there's literally the boy Pikachu and the girl Pikachu, where the girl Pikachu has the heart-shaped tail, whereas the boy Pikachu has like this the still lightning-shaped tail.
They have things on them, yes.
Yeah, to kind of that's how you tell the difference, because none of these creatures have any visible genitals, and also though there's
lots of animals, the male and female are difficult to tell apart.
Yes, exactly.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Lots of animals have different colorings for like birds and things that represent stuff.
Peacocks and peahens.
And also, I do know that there's definitely an anime episode where Pikachu, I think it's Ash's Pikachu, maybe it's a different one, tapes a tail heart onto his tail so that he can enter like girls only gym or something.
Ah,
nice.
But I'm just saying, if they wanted to be, they could change their looks.
Yeah, they could. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Anyway, hey everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about the week's video game news, which this week involved
Pokemon.
Pokemon. and whether it is what the morals around getting into a relationship with the Pokemon are.
I mean, we could discuss
Apparently.
how the fact that AO3 being a peer-reviewed site is pretty accurate.
Yeah. I was very
It's
proud
true.
of that. When I thought
Peers-
of that, I was like, oh shit, that's literally what it is.
Yeah, peers review things.
Yeah, in fact, I think they have whole systems set up where you can set yourself up as a beta reader, so people know that they can ask you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Which is not how fan fiction worked in the day when I wrote it heavily. It was you wrote massive comments in everybody's things for a long time, and then if they liked you, they might have said, "Hey, can I have your email? Can I just email you my whatever so
Before
you
I
can
post
check it
it,
over?"
yeah.
Yeah, that's how we used to have to do things.
but
It was
yeah,
nice.
most people
I
don't
made
really,
a lot of friends that way.
you don't really think about too much that the peer review, means what we sort of think of as like scientific review,
Yeah.
because it's usually used in a scientific context.
Yeah.
So the peers of the person putting out the article or the paper are also scientists.
Yeah.
But if you are, fan fiction author or, anybody else, your peers are probably going to be a whole bunch of different people.
Exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't expect somebody who I wouldn't expect like a microbiologist to be chiming in on reviewing a like a physics paper or something like that, for example, because it's not their field of expertise, and so you assume that then on a place like AO3, it's like, right, if you are into like hurt comfort, you would not be going to like the people who are like writing Stars and Flowers and all that kind of stuff and being like, it's like, hey, so can you review my work for me? It's like, it's awful. You put them through so much, and it's like, well, that's kind of the point of the fic, isn't it?
I mean, that's not.
You find your peer group on AO3.
Yeah, but that's not how reviewing writing works.
Everyone doesn't like separate into clades of like, I only read these tags.
They can, but that doesn't mean you don't. I'm not talking to you.
Don't
anymore.
talk to me.
Beach.
Don't talk to me.
I don't even know why I called you to make sure you were going to be on this show.
Yeah, you could have avoided all this.
I could have just stamped you out right before it
Yeah.
even happened.
I was trying my best to get here.
I could have left the chair out. Could have made sure Paul didn't set up that third microphone.
Just lock the door.
I locked the door. I'm
Yeah.
sure I can find a way to lock
Just
that
lock
door.
the door that
That's
I
the
don't
fact
have access to.
That's what I would use the third chair for.
Hey, everybody.
I can still get out of this building. We have a mysterious door that leads to the roof.
That's right.
Everybody knows about it now too because we put out a loading time.
Let's talk about some of the stories we did in the episode. For instance, the whole epic thingamadoodle. By thingamadoodle in this case, I mean them laying off 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Which I guess is
like-
maybe thingamadoodle is like a little bit flippant way of putting it.
Yeah, clusterfuck. There's a good one.
Yeah,
I like
that's a good
that.
one.
20% of that group.
Yeah.
Is it
yeah.
5,000 employees? They have 5,000 employees? Is that what the thing
I
is?
believe they had 6,000 and now they have 5,000.
Oh, I see. Okay. So 1 in 6 employees get laid off.
Still
That's
a lot. Like
that's
it's
an
a huge
astounding amount.
for like.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of speculation, in the comments and stuff that it's like about you, because Graham wrote the story, of course, and he was, he's like, it seems so arbitrary who got laid off. And there's, all sorts of confusion and people being like, help. All my, half my team got laid off. We're doing important things.
Yeah, and I've seen people even allege that it's like, oh, well, if it's that arbitrary, then we know that a computer made that decision.
Right, the idea that AI or something. It does feel a little bit like, the real like old school like decimation. The
pick 1 in 10.
1 in 10, where it's just literally like, everybody draws straws and one person.
Yeah, gets thrown to the wolves.
Yeah.
I thought Epic had more people than that. I mean, they might, like, as a whole company, because I think we're specifically talking about Fortnite, aren't we?
I'm not sure.
They didn't throw 1,000 people off of Fortnite. Could you imagine if 1,000 people worked for Fortnite?
Let's assume that they did, for fun.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
That's even more insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't fathom, especially. So here's the thing that gets me. Like, that's the thing about large numbers too, is that the line in the story where it says you and 999 other people, and I realized, right, 1,000 is a very compact number. Every time we go up a power of 10, it always feels like it's a much more compact number, because we're used to referring to 1,000 of something as being like 1,000 grains of rice, right? Is like you can put that on a plate. You can have a meal of 1,000. That's a big meal, but still 1,000 grains of rice. And so we start diminishing that in our minds of, well, that's how I wrap my head around the thing, is that's how I think about it, and therefore it starts to become diminished. And so when you say one person and 999 others, and I'm like, right,
Definitely seems bigger. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm like, 99 of something is a lot, and then you have to do that again and again and again, and it's that thing, I think, where it's like, tell a kid, it's like, okay, you think you're so smart, count to 99, and as they're counting to 99, it's like, okay, I can do it, no problem. It's like, great, now count to 199, now count to 299, and think about how long you're going to be here for, with how long it's taking you to do that. And the child will get bored and realize that, wow, 999 is a lot. It's like, it is. Now add one more and that's 1,000. Like, so it
was part of a class project, Paul. We had to make like this toilet paper thing with like number grids, and then it was definitely busy work. But I did it because I'm a fucking gamer, and no one was going to stop me. This was grade 4.
Kind of do a million at like one number a second would take months.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, TXC2, the reason why $9.99, the reason why that sounds more than 10 is because there's 3 nines there. That's why it sounds like there's more than 10, because you've said 9 3 times already. Also, there's a 90 in it. When you say 999, there's actually a 90, which makes it sound like it's more than 10.
But anyway, it's yeah. I mean, there's no not a lot more to say about this other than it's very. It's not only a really terrible thing to have happened, and it's a a real indictment of the industry, but it is this sort of as Graham says, the idea that sort of you as the employee of a company have no impact and no control over whether you keep your job or not.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's not even, and the success or failure of either the project you're currently working on or the company as a whole doesn't seem to have any impact on your employment.
Yeah, especially for companies of that size, right? That this really large size. Like somebody pointed out that this is a AAA game, whatever thing, and I'm like, yeah, I'd say it's also maybe a AA studio thing to a degree, but it's definitely going to be one on the larger side of stuff. Like, yeah, if you have a 4-person indie team, you are going to live and die by how well your game does.
Yeah,
but
and I mean, you talked about it in the after show about Tim Sweeney being like, there's 1,000 people who are so incredibly talented. So if you're looking for the best in the industry,
we had them.
That's so weird to me to see, because usually when we have massive layoffs, right? It's like, oh, such and such group has laid off people. I'm used to seeing a bunch of other devs or people who've worked with those people or people who work at other companies suddenly posting, and I've probably even see those before I see the actual news piece that's like, hey, there's going to be a lot of people looking for work. They're really talented. Yeah. That's a great group of people. They've done all this great stuff, whatever. It's never usually from the person who's part of the group that let them go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, like saying that, like, and to be clear, I think Tim Sweeney is probably correct in the sense that These are a whole bunch of really talented people.
Yeah, but it's
And-
weird to hear it coming from
But
him.
from anybody else, that would be like kind of a positive thing. From the person who fired you,
Yep.
it is definitely not.
There's such a like also for the 1,000 people who have essentially now are hitting the streets having to look for work, networking, any sort of networking and knowledge and popularity or whatever, like if you get to know people in other businesses and all that, there's a very good chance that a lot of other companies are going to reach out to some of these people. I assume that probably 100 of them are going to get job offers pretty much immediately, like unbidden, right? 100 out of those 1,000 are probably going to hear from people in other industry or people in other game companies who are saying, "Oh, we'd love you to come work for us," because you know, like, "Hey, I remember we ran into each other at this thing. We interacted. We had a great time. You clearly showed a lot of knowledge. Come interview, or even just pick up your shit and come move here. We're just going to hire you immediately," like that kind of thing. That still leaves 900 people on the other side of that are going to have a harder time finding work at that point. Even if it's like, oh, we fired the second best of the best at the place that, you know, we used to work for. It still feels like not everyone's going to be offered a brand new job right away.
No,
so my other hope is that those people decide to turn their fortunes around on their own, to be like, hey, let's get 10 of us together and start an indie studio and try to make something of this. Maybe we can actually do this on our own. And that's, like you said, it's a hard road to hoe, right? You live and die by the quality of the next game that you can put out. So if in these people there's a lot of little indie projects that are getting born, I look forward to seeing the interesting stuff that's going to come out of that. Because I hope that something comes out of that something way more positive than just these 1,000 people were made to slave on Fortnite for 5 years.
Maybe it could take years to find another job in this industry because of how many layoffs are always happening.
Yeah.
For one, and
if you're desperate for work, you're going to just kind of flow into another company that's going to probably just let you off again. And it's like, man, shit, you could be living the seasonal work lifestyle, right? Of being like, I come in, I do my thing for 9 months, and then all of a sudden I'm shit canned, and I'm like, I have to find another job at another company to do more crap. And it's like, you're never going to get any purchase trying to actually improve your career.
And
especially if you're getting fired that quickly, you're probably not getting credited for any of the work in whatever game you were actually working on, because games take a while to make, and generally if you get credited, it's been like, if you leave before the game goes up, it's been a practice to not put people's names on stuff.
And I mean, there's been some stories about that recent. In fact, I'm curious how
NDAs. And
I'm assuming the answer to this is not good, but for a game like Fortnite, where, you know, it's a live service, it's in continual development. There isn't really like a credits screen for Fortnite.
Oh yeah, fair.
Or if there is, maybe it's buried in the menu somewhere. But like, if you come on after Fortnite launch, if you came on whatever 5 years ago and worked there for 5 years on making all sorts of cool stuff for Fortnite, and now you've been laid off, were you in the credits for that during any point of time? Like, I don't know how the credits work for games that are sort of,
if you manage to
always
get
around.
into a studio and you can only stay there for a year and they let you go for whatever reason, that's because you're not an asshole or something, but not to do with your fault. And then you get another job for another year, and you're constantly how can you even tell people what you've been working on? Because if it's a game that's currently in development, chances are good you can't tell anyone.
Yeah. So there's going to be a bunch of weird stuff.
So what's your portfolio even look like?
There's going to be a bunch of weird stuff on your portfolio, or on your, worked in the industry or something that looks really suspicious. Anyway, it sucks, and Godspeed to not only to the people who were laid off and now have to find other things, but my heart kind of goes out to the people who didn't get laid off because holy crap, for one thing, there isn't going to be, a sixth of the work didn't just disappear.
Yeah.
So everyone's just going to be doing more work. As Graham was saying, one of the manager or game producer who didn't get laid off is like, this is going to affect things at least for the rest of the year, if not into the next year.
Probably way longer. Like it's going to all have a huge effect because I mean it's going to be they're still going to expect the same amount of work to get done, at least for the beginning until somebody can manage to convince them that they have to cut stuff because that doesn't make any sense. Then you got a whole group of people who are like, hey, 1,000 people just disappeared and nobody seems to know why or can make any like reference as to like what happened. So great, got that on my mind.
Right.
Forever.
So from a like company morale standpoint.
Oh yeah, it's a huge way to like hurt the rest of the staff you have.
I mean, it that's assuming that everybody who got let go was part of work that is now still continually underway at Epic.
Right, and there have been part of this announcement was that they have discontinued a bunch of game modes for Fortnite that apparently were kind of half baked anyway. And people were like, "Oh, those were fun," but clearly they didn't care about them. So I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Which kind of sounds to me like, Tim Sweeney's whole push for he wants to make this the metaverse. He wants this to be Ready Player One. He wants this to be like that instance of like you get home and you don't turn on your computer, you turn on Fortnite. You get to wherever it is and you turn on Fortnite, and then Fortnite is the playground that lets you do anything that you've ever wanted to do ever in your life, and all for the cost of a few V-Bucks. And if the idea is like, oh, we're going to actually start removing modes and we're going to start turning off stuff that doesn't have the full experience, it's kind of like, oh, it sounds like you're taking a step backwards from what your vision was. So maybe your vision sucked.
And there have been, people saying this is comes from this sort of Epic sort of doubling down and really pushing some of the, because they have this marketplace thing where people can create Fortnite experiences or whatever. They can create maps and
forgot about
different things. And some of those have become like ridiculously popular, like very, very popular. And one of the criticisms I've seen is that Epic has been really pushing those. This stuff like the what is it, meme collector or whatever it's called, like the one.
Find the brain rot.
Find the brain rot. Yeah,
whatever the hell that is. Yeah.
Or the steal the brain rot, or the other one or the other one that is just like basically like a big pit with there's like weapons all around the outside and then there's like a circle and you just kind of jump into it, I guess, and fight.
Okay.
And it's just sort of like, and these things, they get really popular for various reasons. Some of which is it's like becomes sort of a meme to play it, or people there are streamers who are playing it and people like it and whatever.
Yeah.
And the idea that Epic has been really pushing that kind of stuff. Because it's really popular, so they're like, okay, go for it.
Now it's ours, yeah. Now we have a version.
But that's such a sort of short-sighted thing. Like that's not going to sustain your growth, or anything over any kind of period of time. People are obviously going to get bored of Steal This Brain Rot.
Yeah.
Not saying Steal This Brain Rot is bad. I don't really know whether it's good or bad.
But it is literally mimetic.
It's intended to be just like this dumb thing that you're like, yay, look at all these memes and different weird things.
Yeah.
And it's not really intended to be a long-term thing.
No.
And Epic is sort of, sacrificing has been sacrificing some of their long-term stuff in order to push this thing.
And I mean, like, I also didn't know how much of any of this is tied, like this 1,000 people that have been let go. If this is it literally anybody who's connected to making Fortnite, or is it like, some people from the Unreal team are getting laid off, some people from the Epic Game Store team are getting laid off?
I mean, part of the thing is that, Epic has been, you guys talked about this at the in the after show, that Epic has been kind of not very hasn't done much in terms of explaining where these, whether some of these people are coming from, like, the Harmonix staff.
There's that too, yeah.
Or they're coming from the various companies that Epic has absorbed over the past few years, or what particular areas these people were working on.
The
and stuff.
Harmonix staff, my understanding was that they were supposed to be working on the rhythm game sections.
Right.
And
which have also been cut way down.
Those were things that people did seem excited about.
Mm.
The sick thing
you
is
can't count me, because I was never going to be excited about Fortnite having a rhythm game, even though we did try it.
Yeah. Anyway,
the sick thing to me is that there's the euphemism of right sizing, and I do wonder if that's also a bit of what's going on, where they're like, wow, we have so many people who are working here, and there's so many moving parts and stuff, and we want to simplify, and because we want to be making more money, like, because a lot of times, God, it's gonna sound awful to say, a lot of times, somebody who says, I want to make a video game, they have this idea of, like, I want to make a video game, and that's what they want to do. And then there'll be other people who'll be like, well, I want to make a lot of money, and video games make a lot of money, so I'm going to make a video game to make a lot of money, right? Like, that's there is that different thing, the different motivations, and rarely does the person who says, I want to make a lot of money, so I'm going to make a video game, become, I don't give a shit about the money, I just want to make video games.
right.
But the person who says, I want to make a video game, a lot of times they tend to migrate towards the other category of, I need to keep making more money. Why? It's like, because my video games, it's like, I thought you wanted to make video games, not money. Like, you want to actually make a thing that people enjoy playing, and increasing the line on the fucking stock market graph is not that important to you. And that motivation, right? It's like, rarely do we see people come to one side or the other. And when you have a person who's like, I want to make video game, I'll hire people who just want to make money because they'll want to be a part of that whole process. And then those people end up saying, well, I got to be sure that we maximize our shareholder value. Thank you, Rock Pusher.
Okay, yeah, because the only people who are making money are in the higher levels, who aren't making the video games. If you have a skill set of, like, I can do programming and therefore I want to make video games because I'm going to make money, you're definitely in the wrong career.
And I bet Tim Sweeney is one of those people who is, I want to make a video game, because I think that's always been his thing from the beginning days.
I mean, right? He was, right? Like, he was, Epic originally made, like, Jill of the Jungle.
Yeah.
And some of this old stuff that he was hands on.
Yeah.
But I think the people who are more excited about the video games than the money don't become CEOs of companies, multi-billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
It's just,
they end up, God, I keep coming back to Supergiant when I think about this, right? But I'm like, playing Hades 2 recently definitely gives me a feel of, I feel like everybody in Supergiant, every person who works there, that like, they all have their fingers somehow involved in the video game that I played, as opposed to just, I sit at the top of whatever. It's like, there isn't one person sits at the top of the mountain and gives direction. I feel like there's somebody that these people are like, I want to be more involved in, the overall direction of the writing, or in, like, some of the ideas, or I want to be in a writing meeting and pitch an idea. Like, I can kind of see that.
Like, sometimes you join accounting because you don't have the other skills, but you want to be part of making the thing.
Yeah, and you still get excited about, I'm helping to make this video game because I'm making sure everyone's getting paid every day, like that kind of thing.
I mean, in the case of Hades, there literally are people on top of the mountain.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
That's true.
But Zeus likes to get involved, right?
But other people who are on top of mountains sometimes have things like skins for Peak.
Oh, yeah. That was the other thing that showed up, didn't it?
weird long people,
Yeah. I can't.
long peak people.
It feels like such a like. Did they not think anybody was going to notice that the skin was more expensive than the game?
I don't think they cared.
Yeah.
At least like Epic,
I don't like that it peaks feed at all.
Because I'm assuming that when you get a skin made for a thing, you get paid a licensing fee. You don't get like a royalty or whatever on how many you sell.
Right.
Which means, as far as I'm concerned, Peak already got paid. Good for them.
Yeah.
The rest of us, we should just go buy Peak.
Yeah.
And then because especially at the time of that story, maybe it still is, it was like $5 on sale.
Yeah,
which means you could buy all of like 3 extra people a copy as well to force them to play this game that you're gonna maybe hate each other for later. But
There's also like when I think about that, extrapolating further on that too, it's like what's the name of the fucking thing? Bing Bong?
yeah, it's Bing Bong.
Bing Bong. If they sell a plushie of Bing Bong,
I think they do.
it won't cost $5.
Well, no.
It will have to cost probably $20 or more, right? Like it will probably be expensive because of
pretty
real
sure
world
you
physical
can get-
object and manufacturing and all those other kind of things.
Pretty sure you can get one.
You have to take into account all, and so it is. On the one hand, it's like, lol, it's funny. You're selling a digital object that I have to use in a completely different game. And how often am I actually going to wear this? And it's going to cost me $20 out of pocket to do that, where I could just be playing the game, the actual game, versus I bought merchandise for the game and it's more expensive.
It's true. I guess if you look at the Fortnite thing as merchandise for Peak as
Yeah.
opposed to merchandise for Fortnite.
Yeah, the Bing Bong plush is $30.
Yeah. Feels super weird in a way. Jesus Christ, that thing.
I mean, that's what it's gonna look like.
yep.
It's
So yeah, like it's yeah. Anyway, I mean, you know, I absolutely don't hold anything against the Peak. I'm sure they probably didn't set the price.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, yeah, get your, you know, if you can get your characters from your game into Fortnite, you know, go do it.
yeah, and I mean,
You're
it's,
gonna like the one thing Epic is.
That's a revenue stream.
The one thing I've learned after having, you know, gotten hundreds probably of games off the Epic store for free is the one thing Epic is good for at the moment anyway, is taking advantage of their putting out bunches of money for various reasons.
Yeah, the fact that it's like we have fat coffers and we are willing to help push forward. We'll pay for a game, so somebody else can have it for free.
Apparently, they didn't have as fat coffers.
Apparently not.
Or their coffers weren't. So it'll be interesting to see whether maybe the Epic Game Store will start pulling back too.
I guess it could have been worse.
Yeah.
They could have done a skin for Agro Crab, and the elongated crab that would have had to fit on a person would have been just weird.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. Like, yeah, there's sort of a fundamental kind of. I mean, there's variations to it, but there's like a fundamental kind of box that a Fortnite character has to fit in.
They have to.
Like they have, like when they did the like Simpsons and South Park characters, they had them like in little mechs running around.
Yeah, I mean the only thing I ever see out of Fortnite that I kind of enjoy is always up to the people playing, because you'll see clips sometimes of people being like, oh, we ran across other people in the Hatsune Miku skin, so we all like stood in a circle and did the dance emote
Right.
or did whatever. I saw one the other day where someone was characters from Arcane, I think, and they were like, oh well, I have to let them kill me because that's in flavor.
Yeah,
I appreciate that it's not,
And that I just find funny because I'm like,
yeah.
sure.
I appreciate that it's not like I saw other people with the Hatsune Miku skin and there could be only one, so I had to kill them.
Yeah, but then again, like that's still like that's enjoyment I'm deriving from other people who are making fun, creative choices, not a company.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to something much less controversial. Pokemon jewelry. So this, you know, the
I think we already talked about this. At the beginning of the
we
show.
already kind of talked about this. U Treasure is a Japanese jewelry company that is making these make to order Pokemon engagement rings.
Yep.
That, to be honest, you know, if you and your special someone are into Pokemon, they're pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
I would be. I mean,
They're affordable enough.
You'd have to be really into Pokemon, but people get Pokemon the tattoos and everything. So
I mean, the cost of our wedding rings I think, was roughly on par with our wedding bands are like. Actually, I think our wedding bands came out cheaper than what these are because we didn't get stone set.
We didn't
well,
do
these
anything.
were more like engagement rings.
But you can also get wedding bands from them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you can get engraved rings
Yeah.
Right.
at other places. Like this isn't all this is we've made stamps for people to do the engraving with.
Yeah, and
more
we've
than
made sort of
anything
like
else,
a
which is
system.
fine. Like
I haven't really seen the thing where they put a gem on the inside of the ring.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like a color to match the Pokemon, which is kind of cool.
I've been learning things about gems recently, and in some cases, you actually do want to have a gem that is that heavily protected because they are a lot more fragile than you expect them to be. But I also
Right.
don't know what the gems are like if they
You
actually.
think that there would be more rubbing on it on the inside?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, depending on the cut and the finish, it's like you might end up with because all I saw from the photos, and I'm going to be very honest. I basically looked at the article. I looked at the article on Nintendo Life. I looked at the pictures that were on Nintendo Life. I read the article they wrote, and I said, "Great! I only need one sentence to get me started." And I wrote the sentence that explained the whole point of the story last because I'd written everything else first.
I mean, the screenshot that showed the choose your stones and what, all it reminded me of was when I worked at Zellers, we had like a ring system thing as well because you could order whatever ring you wanted in whatever style, pick your stones and do whatever, and it's always like some sort of family thing of like get everybody's birthstones and put them in the thing, and all that reminded me of was that, and I just found it particularly cheap and tacky.
I was going to say, yeah, the Zeller's ring is probably not like the highest end engagement ring stuff.
No,
But in terms of like, if you
But
want a
it's that
piece of
same
costume
style.
jewelry,
Yeah.
of a thing, and they're gonna cost you like a couple $100 and whatever.
yeah. And I mean, do that before going to Temu and buying whatever, that's literal costume jewelry. Like that, if you go to Temu to buy like a $3 ring, it's like you're not getting a gold ring. What you're getting is you're getting, as I'm learning from YouTube, you're getting what's called flash gold plating, which is where they put the absolute thinnest amount of gold or something that looks like gold, plating that on the ring, and then when you get it, it looks amazing, and after you've worn
Yeah.
it once or twice, it immediately starts rubbing off.
This is Beej's new rabbit hole, and I'm not partial to it. Mostly because I don't really care for the guy that you keep watching.
Oh, I know. Did you know that emeralds are, an emerald has to be like filled with oil in order to look good because they're actually kind of dry, and so you have to let them like absorb oil so it fills in all the cracks so they actually can look good.
I did not.
Yeah, and if you try to wash an emerald and you get all the oil out of them, they look like shit.
But I also feel like if the people ordering a $3 ring on Temu think they're getting gold.
Yeah. Hey, there are people out there who don't understand when you tell them that gold is a valuable material for a real reason. They don't think that's the case.
There's a contingent of people who have been used to the idea that you get fucked when it comes to buying something at a place because you can get something just as good somewhere else.
Right.
That concept.
Brands
right?
are a markup.
That like, well, I could go to the dollar store and get the same thing. You'll typically find these people also who are like, oh, you knit a sweater and it's like, whatever, I can get that at Walmart. Like that kind of attitude permeates to the idea of, well, I can just go onto Temu and buy a gold ring and it'll be just as good because as far as they're concerned, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like,
Yeah. Anyway.
It's not to say they're wrong. Sometimes when you're buying something from an official store, you are getting...
It is just a rebrand.
You are getting something that's rebranded, or you are getting something that is not the cost that it should be.
Yeah.
But...
Anyway.
Yeah, support your local jewelers.
And the only other thing, we covered some of the other aspects of this story earlier in the episode, the beginning of the episode. The other thing I'll say, Beej spec'd linked me to the image of the bed with the
Dog cage.
Dog cage.
Dog cage.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But
Yep.
unfortunately,
Totally a dog cage.
the image that he sent me, or that he sent me, was from I guess it was like a screenshot from a phone or something.
Yep.
And so it was like a vertical image, which is, a pain in the because the images we use for the shoulder graphics
Yeah, you can't just turn it sideways.
horizontal.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, if this is like, if this is like a sort of a meme thing of like, this is like a well-known funny ad.
Yes.
I was like, maybe there are other images of it, so I could get an image that is formatted better.
Yeah, because obviously somebody else would have gone onto Facebook and maybe taken a screenshot from on a different device.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so did a Google search for bed with dog cage. And it turns out beds with integrated dog cages are a surprisingly common thing
Yes.
in a
Variety of configurations.
yeah, in a lot of them, the one that B should particularly link to had other identifiers that probably clued you in, but there are a lot of very innocent beds with integrated dog cage. People are like, "This is great,"
Yeah.
This was like a weekend project in my garage. I built this like thing. There are companies that sell them. There's
In a lot of cases, what they are is it's a platform bed that just has been raised up about 10 inches. And the part underneath the platform is just like it is cage looking, right? Like it actually is like we have bars and whatever, and then we shoe the. I have seen these pictures that actually literally have like German shepherds and stuff, where it's like, oh yeah, we tell the dogs to go in their thing, and they go inside their thing. It's like literally like we're selling you on this idea. It's actually a real like dog cage for a reason.
There's one that I saw that like wasn't even like a cage. It was just like there's the bed, and then there was just like
A hole?
two. Well, there's just like two little like dog kind of house, little areas.
Okay.
With like a little bed and stuff.
Oh,
everything.
sure.
I was like, that actually seems really nice.
Yeah.
You've got a place where the dogs can come and be near you and not be like on the bed.
Yep.
But
Yep.
the thing, that's probably really nice. That being said, like I said, there are other identifiers in this particular ad that, other things.
Painted
But
as a different style of furniture. Yes.
Uh,
That was good.
Right.
So-
So,
Also, don't feel like you have to buy your significant other a piece of like an engagement ring or like a diamond or any of that other stuff anyway. Never feel like that. Obviously, I think most people that I talk to out there, because you don't need to do that. You can find other nice ways of making engagement gifts that can still last for a while. So it's
I'm
yeah.
having such whiplash right now.
all
I was
right.
not prepared for this today.
So, well, then let's move on. Let's move on to Cameron's story about Mike Ybarra. And what I like, this is sort of a classic Cameron thing where, essentially this is just like one line that Mike
Yeah.
Ybarra said
Oh, yeah.
First thing in the morning on a Sunday.
that really rubbed Cam the wrong way. And quite rightly, obviously. It was like, yeah, maybe that decided to, and he is a former, he's the former Blizzard president, so he's no longer at Blizzard.
Yep.
People were like, he's a former CEO. He's still a CEO. He's now the CEO of Prize Picks, which is a definitely not gambling site. I don't quite know what the distinctions are, why something isn't a sports gambling site, but anyway, apparently it falls under, currently is not a sports gambling site, even though it has the look of one. But anyway, yeah, this idea of like, so for one thing, that like, this, why don't apologize, AI in some form or another is going to be in every single video game. And I don't get why devs need to bend over to the few folks who can't accept the reality that AI will be in every single thing. Which, just as a start, really drives home that how sort of useless the word AI is in this day and age.
That's true.
Like, imagine if you took that quote back 15 years and some is like, here's a hot take from some game developer. Why AI in one form or another will be in every single video game. I think everybody would be like, I guess probably.
Yeah, enemy AI, is that what we're talking about? Yeah.
I guess most
procedural generation.
I guess most video games have some kind of computer controlled AI stuff in them. I don't get what the controversy is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about now, it seems like the most that is just it's a weird chatbot that is
So you're gonna have NPCs in your game? I don't.
broken. Like
There's also I mean, I was not to hear the line, and I'm just like, oh, we use bent over, right? Like the devs are gonna bend over for everybody who does whatever, and I'm like, if you said bend over backwards, then I'd be like, okay, I think I understand what you mean.
That's not what he means.
That's not what he means. But he doesn't mean bend over backwards. He means it differently. I'm like, you're already making this sexually charged in a way that you're denigrating you're denigrating people, and then to just be like that in the first part, but being like people need to man up, and I'm kind of like, you're coming at a lot of different angles with this. It's a very loaded statement at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
Yeah. The timing is the part that is really good. Yeah.
Someone woke up and they checked their social media. I know I do it, but you really shouldn't. It's like the first thing you shouldn't do in the morning is grab your phone and check your social media.
Yeah.
That's just not.
I mean,
it's not what you should do.
And if you're checking, you certainly shouldn't post.
And you definitely shouldn't respond.
Yeah.
And then go back to bed. But.
And it's the man up as a this idea of just
suck it up and accept what I'm telling you to take. Man up. And I'm like, whoa, hang on.
Yeah.
That's not even how the military works.
You keep using these words. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Yeah. Yeah, holy shit. Like it's a very like aggressive form of talk that is
like AI in video games is something that's sort of being done to us.
Yeah. Christ.
Yeah. I mean, I do really like the thing later in that story is like the buying masculinity, right? I think there was a shoulder graphic for masculine flowers.
Yep.
Which was pretty funny.
Flowers made out of beef jerky. And to me, actually, I did want to clarify this. The images that I used there, so there's like Manly Men Co.
Yeah.
Which sells like flowers made of beef jerky and like bacon.
Yeah, and
bouquets
they're clearly like really leaning into it as a joke.
They're being silly. And then the other image I used was like
Bulldog and Bloody Knuckles.
Bloody Knuckles,
which is very good.
Which
hand cream.
Yeah, and Bulldog makes like shaving accessories that are not. They're not saying that those products are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The marketing is a little silly.
Yeah, they're kind of. I mean, Dude Wipes is, I think, a more sillier thing.
We like to make fun of those ones.
Yeah.
It's when you come across stuff in the store that's like, ooh, Dove for men, right? That's when you kind of go, really? Because it's the same thing, but it's in gray and it's got some different scents, sure. But
I love that we could have taken our own photos, because I did bring in some Dove for men stuff that I got for buying $300 worth of groceries. It's like, here's a package of some crap. Of like, and I can't use any of this, so I brought it in to be like, if anybody wants to take this home and use it as like body wash or like fucking carpet glue, whatever you want to use it for, whatever it's good for. And yeah, we have Dove for Men at the office.
Yeah.
I have a thing of Bloody Knuckles on my desk, in fact. We got 2 of those, I think, sent to us by a fan, and thank you for that. I am very particular about what I will use, so yeah, but Heather has used it.
Yeah, it's nice stuff. It's really good when I have like really dried out.
I like some of the masculine branding stuff, like Every Man Jack. Like I see that brand in like Winners all the time, and I'm like, I like the look of it because I like how simple it is to just read the thing and see what it says, because they always go for a minimalist aesthetic.
And I don't think it's totally out of the way to think that, you know, in terms of like shampoo and whatever body wash stuff, that there might be some slight differences in formulation for, you know, typical men's skin versus typical women's skin. I think it's probably not that. There probably could be some changes.
Secret did that whole thing about like pH balance for a woman, and I was kind of like, I don't understand what would make it that. Like, nobody's ever really come out and said that, oh, men's skin is more acidic or basic or whatever. I'm like, I don't know.
Because some of it is just marketing speak. Even
I think it has
even
to
if you
be.
take out the gendering of some stuff, it's the marketing speak is just like, oh, your hair will be like whatever now, and it's like that's not real shit that you just said.
I will say though that I like to smell like limes.
Sure.
You know, like I have a deodorant that is unisex, right? That it's like anybody can use this, but it does smell like limes, and I do like it. And I also like smelling like fruit punch, which is why I was using Old Spice Wolfthorn for a while, because it's fruit punch is all it is. And fruit smells and floral smells tend to not be associated with men's smells, right? Like a men's fragrance or whatever. It's always like it's just pine needles, or it's like fucking gasoline or whatever. It's like leather and musk and like all those kind of things. It's like
sandalwood.
Yeah, they're
all
always
the scents that come up in romantic erotica for girls.
Yes, right. And
true.
And whereas like women are
He
supposed to
smells
be
like sandalwood.
Yeah,
and
women
leather
are supposed to be
and-
like tropical
and
whatevers
whiskey and cigarettes, and I can't. Man, I just love the smell of cigars
Yeah.
on a man and his leather jacket.
Oh God, God! My uncle, he used to smoke a pipe, and
His review AO3.
his pipe
What makes you think I
tobacco
don't?
always smelled like cherries. So it smelled like pipe tobacco, but also smelled like cherries. And I hated when he smoked it because it was just like, but when I could smell just the tobacco before he actually started like smoking it, I was like, this is the most amazing scent. I would love to have this. Like, I'd love to like be able to like open a box of that like on my desk or whatever, and just be like, and just like sniffing coffee grounds, that kind of thing. Of like, it's very relaxing. And like it's all the whole like masculine. We've gotten really off topic, but the whole masculinity aspect of you have to follow the thing and it has to be done this way, and we all believe that these are the things. I'm like, this is eating folks alive. And it's not great, because it's like, I just want to fucking smell like limes, and it's okay for me to smell like limes.
Sure.
So
I mean, I find it really funny when it
Just
so
take
like
lime juice, pour it on your head.
a popular you get an ad for in a podcast sponsor has been like manscaping, right?
Oh yeah.
And when that came out, they leaned really hard. It's just razors, but they just leaned really hard into like all of these phrases that are very like, and it's meant to be funny. It's like, oh, shave your balls and do whatever and thing. And the first couple times I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. It's kind of funny. I did find it even funnier when people on podcasts started to say women can use them too, because they're just razors. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? After hearing weeks upon weeks of dude bro podcasters who are generally not dude bro, they're just dudes laughing their asses off after the same read over and over of ball jokes is not funny anymore. And after a while, I even stopped listening to some podcasts, because I'm just like, I'm so tired of hearing this ad where you all become weirdly actually the toxic, we're just talking about guy stuff so heavy, I don't want to be here anymore. I've already been in high school. I didn't need it again.
Yeah, I mean, when you listen to a lot of, if you listen to a lot of podcasts, especially if they're podcasts that are sort of in a similar genre.
Yeah, like what was it, the mattress one? Casper mattresses was like a pretty popular one.
But yeah, you get
people didn't typically go on and on about those. They just kind of like.
But yeah, you'll get the
on.
sort of full court press, and then the fun thing is you have like all these disparate hosts, and who clearly have like copy that they have to read, and then stuff.
Gain 1 optical inch.
So my favorite was there's I think it was like Adam Carolla's podcast or whatever, and he had Jesse Ventura on.
Oh my
At one point.
goodness.
This was like a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Or
okay.
quite a few years ago again.
Yeah.
And he tries to do like integral, like he does reads, like live reads.
Right.
He doesn't just like cut to a thing. And he tries to like kind of integrate it into the thing, or sort of tries to make it a little bit more than just like, here, I'm doing it.
But you're saying to your guests, it's like, I'm going to do an ad read live, and I might talk to you during it. And
Yeah.
for God's sakes, it's an ad read.
And
Please understand what that
and
means.
Jesse Ventura just totally stonewalled him. He was like, so he was like, so Jesse, do you ever have to send any packages through the mail? It was like, this is like a stamps.com thing, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I don't trust the mail system. He's like, okay, but if you use this, you can just do it. You don't have to go to the mail thing. You can just do it online. I don't have a computer.
Wow, that's fun.
Good for him.
It was just like, work with me.
He's like, no,
Just trying to do a throw.
I'm here to be a guest. I'm not here to help you with your ad read.
Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah. Also, fridges with AI, like, sucks that it's like putting
How many
computers and things like that.
Fridges have, like, I know they make fridges with like clearly dumb tech in them that we should not be using, because it's just like a great way to have to buy a new fridge really quick.
Yeah.
But is that like a fridge with AI? Is that really like everywhere in people's, like, that can't be that
At the
household.
most recent CES, Samsung showed off a fridge that they said had AI in it.
Sure.
It's one of those things that has been like advertised a lot, but I feel like very few people actually have them. Like
Yeah.
they're like, look, we have this thing, and people are like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And also, my fridge doesn't need AI, shouldn't have AI, and saying that, oh, AI is going to be in everything like your fridge, it already is. It's like, I guarantee you the fuck it is not.
It's the AI fridge thing is the next evolution of the like internet fridge thing,
Yeah.
which was
that was already bad.
which was like just having like a screen on your fridge where you could do internet
yeah,
stuff.
again, that's
And then the examples I've had was like
the fridge with the ice machine is technically not a great idea.
Yeah.
Never mind the rest of it. So
The-
no.
The AI integration with fridges I've seen is like it uses image recognition and stuff to figure out like when you're putting an item into the fridge. It's like, you just added ketchup.
Cheese. Yeah.
Cheese.
Congratulations.
And now here's
At 30 points.
And it'd be like, hey, you are running out of milk, or you have all these things. I can make you a meal,
Yeah.
and probably mess it up.
Yeah. Hey, fridge, you can't do shit. All you do is keep my stuff cold, and that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it's
Sometimes you don't even do that. But
I'm
most of the time.
totally down on the idea like of more tech in my fridge, because now that Moonbase had to suffer from the fact that the freezer on our fridge stopped freezing things for us, and with no explanation, and just the more complicated the things get, I had to bring all my stuff from our home freezer into our work freezer so that it wouldn't all go bad while we're trying to figure out what to do about this fridge. And the fridge now is basically in like what feels like limp mode, where it's like
The fridge is sort of working now, so we
Yeah.
haven't technically done anything about it.
Yeah.
Because we had to buy a washing machine not that long
But when you
ago, and I
run
don't wanna-
when you run face first into that, you realize all that you want your thing to do is just do the thing it's supposed to do and nothing else.
Well, yes.
And the fact that we have buttons to say turn the ice maker on, put it in power freeze mode. It's like I never needed any of that for years on any other fridge.
I just wanted it to keep the ice cream cold enough that it wasn't melting.
Yeah.
But yeah, every additional feature is another thing that could break.
Yeah.
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 And that, again, that's why like the ice maker on a fridge is a bad idea, because generally the lines on those are one of the first things that break.
Yeah, and I really like having a bottom freezer, but after watching and reading a lot about how fridges and freezers work, it's like, oh Christ, am I gonna have to go back to like
Top freezer.
top freezer, one giant door, like very little whatever? I'm like, oh man, I
I
don't
just
want
go
to
back
do
to
it. I
not
don't want to
eating
do it.
food. It's worked so well in the
Everything
past.
is shelf stable. We just buy UHT milk from now on.
Yeah.
I just won't drink milk.
Anyway, now I've gone real off topic.
Well, speaking of AI, Dragon Quest X or Dragon Quest X, depending on how you want to pronounce it, is going to be adding a little AI friend for you.
Yeah.
Which I love that he's called Chatty Slimy.
So this is a mobile game or a MMO RPG or something?
It is an MMO.
I just want to point this out because I think like Dragon Quest 12 exists. So if
Yes,
you say Dragon Quest 10,
this is a mobile MMO that is only in Japan.
Right.
And came out in like 2012. Like it's been out for a long time. But yeah, it's doing the Final Fantasy thing where like some of them are a totally different game. You can't tell which. This one was never released.
Yeah, I just think
Japan.
it's important to point it out so it's not like, oh, that cart you bought, let's be real, that digital download of a game that you bought it's not suddenly got an update on it for
right. Good point.
an AI. It's an online style game.
And yeah, so it's powered by Gemini, and yeah, saying it can analyze what's happening in the game and answer direct questions, and then may initiate conversations when powerful enemy is defeated and rare items are. I feel like it could be, hey, listen, except.
Yeah, actually,
Except it says
that was one of the things
nice
I thought
thing.
of. Is like when they said companion, right? Because I
Yeah.
thought of like Navi, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Nobody likes like the companion character is always like the character a lot of people dislike in a game because it has that voice line that's kind of like, or it's trying to push you into tutorials that maybe there are too many of, and I'm like, yeah, do I want one that will decide to just talk to me when I'm playing a video game where I'm trying to probably not talk to people?
So the question, the interesting thing, so on one hand, I guess one positive possibly thing about this from that perspective is that one of the things that is frustrating about Navi or any of those kind of little helper buddies is that they're very repetitive, right? They'll
Yes.
just do the same thing over and over and over again.
Because they only have a small amount of stock responses to stuff.
And so theoretically, this will be less repetitive.
Okay.
But also, I'd be very curious about is, I'm sure, when this thing comes out, lots of people will be breaking it.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And I'd be fascinated to see if people can just get it to just be sort of lying about things.
Let's say there's absolutely nothing wrong with Chatty Slimy and it works as intended and is great. Every time you find a big, cool item and it wants to tell you about that cool item, there's only so many ways a thing can tell you. Even if this was a real person telling you about that cool item every single time, it's going to get repetitive.
Yeah.
At some point, it's just going to get repetitive.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
That if you're fighting for whatever and a thing drops a rare item, but it's the third one, will it remember? It's like, oh, that's the third one of those that you got. Awesome. Or you've got really good luck. You have really good luck for future reference. But will it have, what attitude will it have? What personalities will it have? Will it be chipper and upbeat all the time? Or will it be sarcastic? Or will it be
my favorite one was there was that other, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago or month. There's that other MMO that was using chatbots as their actual NPC AIs.
Oh, right. Yeah, we did talk about that. That was a while back.
And there's an interesting aspect of that where, you would go up to him and he'd assign you a quest or whatever, right? But they would have, you could sort of talk to them about the quest.
You could trick them into completing
stuff.
quest by saying certain phrases at them.
But then you could also, you could trick them, and you could people figured out that you could sort of mess with them and be like, oh yeah, I just did that quest. And they're like, are you sure? And you're like, yep, I definitely did that quest.
right. Here's your reward.
Yeah, and they're like, well, okay, and then you give you the reward. AI chatbots just aren't equipped, at least at this point, to deal with the kinds of messing around that people are willing to go through to mess with things.
And I don't you put this slime in a game. My expectations are wild at this point too, though, right? It's like, oh, we're gonna make a computer be able to chat with you and talk to you about the things that are going on in this game. And I'm like, well, then it better have exhaustive Dragon Quest knowledge. Like, at that point, that it's like, if the slime is
about lores.
Well, that's the thing that I wonder. I'm like, so it should feel like if I'm going to talk to the game through this slime, it's like, do you make the excuse that's like, oh, Chatty Slimy is still just a slime and only knows so much about the world that you're surrounded by? It's like, Chatty Slimy knows what that fucking rare item is that I just picked up. Why would a slime know about a rare item in the game? Why would it know anything about like armor or anything about weapons or anything or whatever unless it has a lot greater knowledge? And so to that end, it's like, well, then I have some very pointed questions to ask about things that go on in Dragon Quest, and I want you to answer them, you know, and I want you to engage me like with reality. And it's like, so what corpus of information are you building this AI out of, and then having it talk to you? Because I'm assuming like this is all being done. If it's all being done by Gemini, it's all being done off computer. Like it's not being done on your device. It's being done somewhere else, and everything's coming back to you. So
I'm guessing that
it
you
is
could,
an MMO,
you could accidentally get the game fully spoiled for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that's one of the things I find fascinating about this. Like, how do the guardrails in these kind of things work? How do you? Because I mean, they've talked about that, like that, and we've talked about how that doesn't seem like a great idea to have this idea of having like, you know, it's great. You don't have to like, you know, an NPC in a video game. He could just like have, you could just like have the knowledge of like a peasant in this town, and you could just like talk to him about stuff. Like it doesn't have to have preset lines, but it's
then
like,
you don't know when the dialogue is ever going to run out.
And it's like, it runs into that like, but I want to actually play a game in which people are giving me, yes, obviously in the real world, people don't just give you a quest first time they see you, or they don't just be like, oh, hi. You know, the Dragon Star is out tonight. Yep. Isn't that interesting?
If I walked up to a barista, like if I went to the parsonage and I was buying buying my sandwich, and then I just stood there for like another minute staring at the barista, and they're like, "Can I help you?" And there's like a line behind me, and it's like, "Can you tell me more about the Dragon Star?" And it's like, "Oh, yes." And then the barista just goes on until I decide to leave. And at what point does the barista say, "I'm sorry, I have to help everybody behind you. You need to move on." You know, like, and then at what point it's like, "I'm not going anywhere. We're going to talk about the Dragon Star." It's like, I'm going to have to call the constabulary to come haul your ass out of here because now you're trespassing. You know, like it's like none of this. You can't make it make sense like the real world because
it's not.
Because it's not the real world,
not.
and it's not ever going to feel like the real world because you've put a person front and center in having an experience. They're like, well, then I'm going to test the boundaries of this experience because it's not real to begin with.
Because what I picture
if you have done all the work to make it so much like the real world, it wouldn't be fun.
What I end up picturing is the AI chatbots you get now when you're just trying to find a thing on a website, like they automatically pop up now, and they're like, "Can we help you find anything?" And you're like, "I just got here, just want to read the thing." Or you're trying to find the FAQ to be like, "Where's whatever?" And instead, all it gives you is the chatbot now, which is just referencing a FAQ, which is so annoying. And you're like, "Okay,
you're just a bad interface into.
I need to find thing," and then things like, "Well, have you tried blank?" And I'm like, "Yes." Which is why that information is not, and it's like when you talk to a person on a fucking phone tree, because again, it's an answering machine. Like, I'm not talking about a real person, but when you're on a phone tree and the phone tree says, "Have you tried plugging it in?"
Yeah.
Or have you turned it off and on again? And you just get, I just want to. Yeah. Why am I here?
If I'm calling you, like this is the thing is I'm like, I think that whoever operates companies has the wrong idea because I think they're of an age where they're like, oh, well, you know, we know what people are like. It's like, no, you know what people are like nowadays? People nowadays don't want to call anybody on the phone. And if they are calling you on the phone, it's because they want an answer now. They don't want to go through your thing. They don't want to go through self-help, whatever. They don't want to do self-serve things like, oh, we do that for the boomers, that whatever. It's like, no, not even the boomers. The boomers don't want to call a company for help they want to call their kids for help. That's what they will do. Is they will talk to anybody else, but rather than get on a phone tree in the first place. And it's like, if the whole point of the phone tree is to basically dissuade you from calling the phone tree in the first place, I guess turn off your phones, pull a YouTube or a Google, and make sure you can't talk to anybody in person ever. But the frustration of, I call TELUS to get some help, and it's like, we're going to go through general troubleshooting steps here in the phone tree. I'm like, no, we're not. I want an agent right now. I've already done all the work I need to do. I just need an answer to my question because I'm not getting the service I'm supposed to be getting. Like, it's so frustrating. And that's the thing I don't understand is that
Now that'll be in your video game.
the complete disconnect with, oh, we think people want this. It's like, they don't want that.
Oh yeah, my other favorite thing about websites, this is not on topic, but when you go to a website and it decides to give you a spinning wheel promotion BS thing that you have to click on or tell it that you don't want the thing because you just want to look at the item.
All right, we're like, sign up for a newsletter for 5% off.
Yeah.
And it's like the thing will be like, what, you don't want to save money? I'm like, I don't even know what the thing is I'm looking at yet. I just wanted to see what the dimensions of this shit was.
What are you, some kind of idiot? You doesn't want to save money?
Can you give me the sales spiel after I've even like looked at it?
It's like, yeah, like if this was a brick and mortar place, and John Gruber actually had a good point, a good article about this. He's a Mac blogger type guy.
Yeah.
But he was talking about using he was using a computer. He was, I think, one of the new like Mac new whatever Neos, and in order to, as a test, he wanted to use it without installing any plugins. He wanted to see how it would do with web browsing and that kind of stuff. And he's saying he's been using like uBlock and all these things for so long, realizing how bad things have gotten, and talking about like, you go to like say the New York Times website,
Yeah.
and it's, and I'm somebody who goes to a lot of these places. I have to take screenshots and stuff for articles and things for ChillPoint. And I do have to often block stuff and move stuff around and do stuff. And saying that like the things that they do to the sort of to their content on their website, nobody would tolerate in like the equivalent would be if in like a newspaper,
Yeah.
if like half the pages were like glued together and you had to you have to spend extra work to get them apart.
Yeah.
And then you open it up and it was just like full of flyers, and then you had to go through people wouldn't or the like the New York Times wouldn't do that to their print page.
Yes.
But for some reason they allow that to happen to their website.
Yeah.
And just completely destroy the viewing experience to the point where, like, especially like I've got an older iPad, and there are websites I just can't go to. Like, they just won't run.
Have you ever tried to watch a Twitch VOD for a channel you're not subscribed to if you don't have Twitch Turbo? Mm-hmm. There are ads every 10 minutes. And the thing about that, like, YouTube will do the same thing. If you click on the, hey, YouTube, just put in ads wherever you want. Yes. But at least on YouTube, you can go, thanks, YouTube. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's put them in better places or not as often or whatever. But you can't. The fact that makes me actually super mad that I can't go into my Twitch backend and tell it to cool off on ads on VODs.
Yeah.
Because now I know people don't want to watch them on there.
Right.
I definitely,
It's really annoying.
like the idea of back in the day, like even today, right? It's like you want to read the New York Times in print. You pay your subscription. They send you a paper. You get to read you get to read your newspaper. You go buy it on the street or whatever. You pay your $3 or $4 or whatever it costs to buy their newspaper. And then to the person reading it, it's like, okay, so I bought this thing. I've blind boxed this New York Times because I have no idea if there's anything in here that's worth reading or not. But I'm reading it because what I'm trying to do is get a sense of what's going on right now. that the New York Times decides is worthwhile pointing out to me. And you look at the headline, you're like, I don't give a shit about the first page or something below the fold. That's cool. A2's got nothing. A3's got nothing. A4's got an interesting article. I'm going to sit down and read that. And you go through it and you realize that at the end of the whole paper, you've maybe read about 8 to 10% of what actually went on in the paper. And so you're like, okay, well, I spent my $3 to get informed, and I just kind of rolled the dice on whether there was any information that I wanted. And with the websites, we're in such an information consuming glut these days that it's like to go to the New York Times and pay $3 a month or $4 a month or whatever it costs you to access the thing. It's like, wow, I paid $3 for the one paper. I'm paying $3 a month to get a month worth of information. And even then, I don't think that it's valuable enough to me to actually do that, despite the fact that I have 30 days now of being able to read a thing. But the reason we don't do that is because I would just buy a newspaper back in the day because that was the newspaper that's in my town. Now there's thousands of newspapers that I could be reading and thousands of people writing articles about stuff on blogs that are related to those newspapers and all this other information. It's like, right, if I go find the right things, I'll find someone who's willing to talk about the thing I want to learn about for free. And now there is no way to make money off of what's going on in the world to keep people invested in that kind of thing. And it's just, that's the frustrating thing too, that we feel like the information glut has basically screwed up our relationship with how to understand and process anything, whether it's like the video game you spend $70 for, and I don't want to have something bug me the whole time I'm playing my video game. Anyway.
And just to clarify for the New York Times, that was just like the first thing that came to mind.
Absolutely.
I have no particular affinity or lack thereof for the New York Times. I actually don't even know what their reputation is anymore.
Yeah. They do end up sometimes referenced for articles, though.
It's true.
Like they have a gaming section.
It's true.
So sometimes that gets referenced.
Anyway, I mean, that kind of dovetails into our coming up story.
Yeah.
About that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth players apparently are 62% of US-based Final Fantasy VII Rebirth players are over 35.
I mean, that's not that surprising to me.
No.
Like I would assume that Final Fantasy VII, like it's got a big fandom, but like the core of that is going to be majorly made up of people who played the original.
But anyway, but it's Square. That was Square sort of being like, we need to get more young people. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is doing well, but not the right well.
Also,
so we're gonna have to lay off more people.
I believe. What was it? I think I saw James post this in one of our hangout areas. The PlayStation 5 is going to go up by $100 in April.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Might make it a little harder for people to want to play Final Fantasy.
It's gonna.
I mean,
Final Fantasy is going cross-platform.
They're putting it on other things. Sure.
I think it's funny though, like reading it where it's like,
is Rebirth the first one or the second one? It's the second one.
Second one.
Yeah, Remake is the first one. Rebirth is the second one.
Because they're on the hook for like trying to do a third one to finish it out, and that might be really more the crux of why they need more people to play.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's a like. All this refers to is a percentage of people who are playing it, and their age demographic. And I think the idea is it's like, well, we've always thought that Final Fantasies are popular. This is US based too, but it's like we always thought that Final Fantasies are popular with the 18 to 30 segment or the 18 to 25 segment or whatever, like that kind of thing. It's like every time a new Final Fantasy comes out, 18 to 25 year olds are always our biggest demographic. I'm making this up. I don't know. But if that was what their point of view was, and they're saying, but we're remaking a game from a while ago because that would be the thing that then we don't even, like that should still attract 18 to 25-year-olds, right? Why shouldn't it? Because it's a Final Fantasy game, especially one that they haven't played because it's 20 years old.
So let me posit this to you because I heard this on a podcast.
Alrighty.
And I'm curious to hear what you think of this. Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, those games, when they were older, they were made more often.
Okay.
Right? Like,
yeah.
They would have
you would have like
every couple of years.
Every couple of years you would have a new one.
Correct.
That doesn't really happen anymore.
Correct.
But that happens for Pokemon, which is also an RPG. So the thing I heard was that's why Pokemon is so beloved by people as kids, is because that you get a new one all the time, and you used to get that with some other RPGs like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, but that doesn't happen so much anymore. So every time you turn around, your next Final Fantasy might be in 6 years, but you're a completely different person by that point, as opposed to you've maybe played 2 or 3 as they've come out and they've kind of grown with you.
And that kind of dovetails with the common complaint about Pokemon games, which is that they feel rushed and or like the engine hasn't changed in 30 years or whatever.
But it is also like Pokemon games. People only complain about the quality of a Pokemon. Like the amount of complaining about a Pokemon game has gotten louder since they stepped out of like the top-down RPG
they've gone
thing
to
into the 3D thing. Because it's like these feel like they're half-baked, that they're not actually done. But also, on the one hand, it's like these are not done, and the other people are like, we need to play this as an open world. I need my open world Pokemon game, because if it's not open world Pokemon 3D walk behind whatever, then it's not a real game. That it's just looking down at some tiles and seeing things. It's like, if that's the attitude that people are having, like at the same time, then it's like, right, well, you're caught in a thing of you can't just make a brand new 3D engined game, brand new 3D engine game every year. Like even freaking Breath of the Wild was like, they made that thing, and then to have Tears of the Kingdom come out later, it's like it still took 1/3 of that game is still Breath of the Wild's environment, right?
So the idea is that Pokemon has like this beloved reaction for people because you're constantly getting more of it, whereas these RPGs, the people who are more interested in them are people who were kids when they were doing that, but kids now aren't really getting that same thing to cling on to.
That's super interesting, yeah.
And you do occasionally see like children's, franchises that are sort of aimed at children. And of course, we don't pay that close attention to them because they're aimed at children.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you'll see a thing and it's like, whatever, like 7 or 10, you'd be like, there have been so many versions of, like, there have been that many versions of that game, and it's like, yeah, probably for that reason.
Which I guess explains why Minecraft and Fortnite and Roblox do so well for that demographic, because Minecraft is just kind of a perennial game.
Changing things.
Yeah, but Minecraft's like a perennial game that has like updates all the time, but it's like it's static, it never changes, but it's still like it's a playground. And Roblox is thousands of experiences, always new stuff, novelty all the time. And Fortnite is a season, a set of seasons that comes out constantly, so there's always a constant churn.
And that's why you see games that are a lot like this over necessarily a single player experience, which
interesting,
fascinating idea. I didn't consider that way, that it's like, if you're not getting your new thing all the time as a kid, then the novelty wears off and you'll be drawn somewhere else. And wow.
But kids are the ones who have time to play the 200-hour RPG.
I know, but that's the thing, right? If you if you were, I don't know, 12 when Breath of the Wild came out, and then Tears of the Kingdom was 7 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've graduated.
You're 19. And you might buy that, but you also might just be like, I'm too busy with college now. I'm doing whatever now. My tastes have just completely changed. Whereas if, for some reason, if you had a new Zelda game coming out every couple years and you were picking it up, it might live with you through those changes.
True. Yeah. I
think it's a really interesting idea to think about.
Well, I mean, the one thing that, of course, by couching it the way we did for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, is 62%, 64%, 62% of everybody is over 35.
Over 35.
77% is over 30. They did provide that thing, I think, as well. 77% is over 30. I'm like, okay. So now below 30s, because this is only above 30, right? Below 30s constitute 23% of your market. That's still showing you that anyone below 30 years old and that could be anyone from about, let's say, about 8 or 10 years old. There's a 20-year gap, like from 10 to 30 in there. It's like there are still 23% of people out there who are playing your game. It's like that still has meaning to some people in a different demographic, even if it is the much smaller demographic, because we're looking at 30 up to like 65 kind of situation. Like however you want to slice and dice those numbers, you are saying that there's a quarter of the people playing it are living in a market that are still willing to interact with your product, your story in that way, that they're kind of drawn to it. And that's just in the US market, like to say nothing about what it'd be like around the world and how it's appealing to anybody. If your goal was to be like 70% of everybody playing this is between 12 and 21 years old, then it's like, I guess you have that market. I guess you have found that. But the gaming landscape has changed, and much like you've posited now that it's like, if it's a game that you have to wait years for, you're going to have drop off and you're not going to have interest. It's like, yeah, dude, Final Fantasy might be a game for 30-year-olds, 30 plus. And even if you bring one out 7 years from now, it's still going to be a game for 30-plus-year-olds. Maybe that's just what your series is now.
I like people talking about, I remember like when Silk Song came out, people were like, when I first heard about Silk Song, I was like, just graduating high school.
Yeah.
I'm married and have kids now.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just the gaming landscape that's changed, right? It's the world has changed in a lot of ways as well. Like, systems are more expensive. It doesn't matter if you want to try to do retro gaming or modern gaming. Everything's just more expensive. So, like, grabbing onto that game that lets you join for free and maybe you spend some money every so often on V-Bucks or whatever.
Yeah. Is
a more approachable option.
Yeah.
Like, which also then means that you're playing games that are more about socializing, which is different in itself. But then you also are then seeking out games that maybe don't have an ending to them, which I find an interesting idea as well, because that's like, it's like saying the story's never allowed to end.
Right.
But the most satisfying stories are the ones that have like the really good endings, right? The one that lands really well.
Yeah.
And I know Fortnite's not like story heavy or whatever, but it's still that conceit.
Yeah, I guess there are sort of seasonal circumstances that happen. I don't know if they're actually like a full plot, but all right, well, let's move on into some of the things that we didn't cover in the episode. Last week we talked a little bit about Tekken 8 3.0, version 3 did the big update.
Yep.
Updated all sorts of everything.
And
Change
nobody
balances.
liked it.
Pages and pages and pages and pages of balances, and nobody liked it.
Yep, happens.
Yeah. Apparently, I like the headline, Tekken 8 Season 3 Backlash, somehow even worse than Season 2. Because people were not happy with Season 2, and they were like, don't worry. Season 3 is going to fix it.
Well, I don't even think that, is it Bandai Namco? Yeah, I don't think Bandai Namco even said, oh, don't worry, season or Update 3 will fix it. I think that everyone was like, tell them that it sucks. Tell them that Season 2 sucks. Do it often enough, and Namco would be like, okay, well, we're listening. And then and that was probably about the extent of it. And then they were like, well, Season 3, here you go. And then everyone lost their minds. They're like, we thought you said you're going to fix it. And I'm sure that Bandai Namco's like, we didn't say anything about fixing it. Because a spokesperson did come out about this, about the 3.0, and say, yeah, well, we are hearing what you're saying. We're going to continue with the current direction of what we're doing, but we will try to make a couple changes, but we're going to continue the current direction of what's going on. I'm like, okay, that is now telling you, it's like, if this Tekken is not your Tekken, then you don't need to come back to it.
Yeah, and people probably won't. Like, there are people who quit over the update, right? And like high level ranking players apparently too. So I don't see them coming back to it unless.
Yeah.
Actually, not even an unless, because I feel like if you are if you're invested in being a professional fighting player, or even semi-professional, and you put that time investment in, if you've already found something else that you've found that works for you, you're not going to go back and forth. That's
Yeah.
That's not going to work for you.
Once you've lost people, it can be tough to get them back.
Yeah, they're gonna. I'm sure that everyone's going to probably wait. If you've already bought the game too, and the updates are free, you're probably going to check back in every so often, and you'll feel the pull. But I mean,
again, it depends on how good that is, right?
Yeah.
Like, I imagine there are fighting games that when you play them, that feel like how I feel like when I play certain rhythm games. That there's just like, this is tight, this does whatever, this does thing. Now, when I play a rhythm game, though, they don't get updates that fuck with the characters that I'm playing.
Right. Or like
so
oh my God.
Usually,
like I can totally imagine a rhythm game getting an update and them being like, oh, we changed everything, and we're like,
the timing's
nope.
different now. Could you imagine the timing's different now?
Yeah, I can, and it would
yeah,
absolutely kill me.
We made all the icons slightly different, so now you have to push it right before the icon shows up rather than right on the icon, something like that. And I mean, that's yeah. So they're saying they're going to be pushing out a emergency patch.
Oh my God.
Which apparently will fix some critical bugs and unintended behaviors, which apparently there were some actual like full-on like legitimate bugs that were just like, this is not actually like not workable. And then in mid-April will be an update where they'll be going into some more balance tweaks and adjustments to behaviors that result in excessive rewards and performance tuning centered on the heat system. That's their new mechanic that apparently is causing people. I don't know if the heat system is the problem, but it's what they're sort of all in on. So anyway, and then late spring is apparently the window for another update. So.
Wow.
They have plans for balance update, but people are not happy.
They'll know like if when people leaving en masse and they're just kind of like, wow, like user play or whatever, like numbers have fallen off incredibly, that nobody's interested in playing this game anymore. I can definitely see, that leading to some conversations in boardrooms and whatnot where people be like, okay, so what are we going to do about this? It's like, well, we can't change it all back, or we have to change it all back, or like there's probably a lot of like push pull within the tech and planning team to be like, how do you address this problem? Because I mean, shit, like Sakurai with Smash Brothers knew that people love Melee and lose their mind about it. Why?
Yeah.
Because they made that game, and then they made so many games after that where people just kept telling him over and over. I'm sure it's like, this is good, but it doesn't feel the same as Melee, so it's dog shit. I'm sure he's heard that over and over and over again, and having to kind of weather those comments. And it's like, and then he makes Smash Ultimate, and it's like, this will be my last time making this game, and also this is what this game is. Like, the game is this. There will be little balance tweaks here and there, but this is the game, guys. It's not going to be Melee 2.0. Like, that's not how this is.
I don't believe him until they make a Smash without him.
It's true. Yeah.
And that might be after he's dead.
It might be.
It is definitely, I can imagine something, especially, a franchise that are Tekken 8, like you were saying with rhythm games, like there is a feel to these fighting games. But so you're sort of, you want to maintain that feel, but on the other hand, it's the 8th thing, right? Obviously, they're going to be switching up, and you can't, especially if you're a big, you're Bandai Namco, you can't be like, let's push out Tekken 8. People didn't like it. Okay, scratch all those plans, completely reverse everything, and go back, right? It's like at a certain point, you got to be like, okay, we're gonna like keep with this, because then of course anybody who liked the new way will then get pissed off at you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're doomed either way.
Yeah.
So anyway, speaking of new things, there's a new FIFA is coming out with a new game.
Oh,
now,
Jesus.
Okay.
Right.
We've talked about, or we mentioned that so FIFA pulled the license for like soccer
Yeah.
from EA, which is why now it's just like
EA does soccer now, the game.
Yeah.
EAFC.
EAFC.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
And so
If
they
you
have
rearrange those, it spells face.
there are apparently
No, don't.
two. So one of the games that FIFA is going to be coming out with, they're apparently partnering with another company to make like a AAA kind of like a full game. But
Okay.
this game is called FIFA Heroes.
They're working with a VR company to make this, and it's not a VR game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you play as Diego Maradona, who is like,
No. You can play as a bunch of different people.
but he's the soccer hero getting into it, isn't he? He's like the only. Oh no, there's lots of soccer guys.
Yeah.
Oh, thank Christ. Okay,
So, yeah,
it didn't
like-
sound like it.
Like this is more of a like I always like it into like NBA Jam or whatever. Like this is a more kind of
NFL
like,
Blitz. Yeah.
NFL Blitz, whatever. Become a legend in FIFA Heroes. Watch as one of football's greatest ever players, Maradona, enters the pitch and joins the FIFA World Cup mascots, fictional heroes, players from past and present of the worlds. So it's like 5-on-5 games, but like it's, there's, when we say it's like, oh, you will be fighting, gods of
Soccer?
In some cases, you are actually fighting like literal gods, like Zeus is there, and like
okay.
Thor, a soccer playing version of them, and like people dressed up in mascot out, which that's got to be a foul.
I have to think so. Yeah. The thing is, like, this makes a lot of sense that if a kind of arcade soccer game hasn't been, this really feels like Captain Tsubasa or something in a lot of ways, but it's like arcade soccer games have not really been what people have been like really looking for.
It's a mobile game too, as you can see, but
it's like makes sense. And it's like, so it doesn't
It
really
looks like a mobile game.
It doesn't really like it doesn't feel like, maybe this is what people want. But maybe what people want is like NFL Jam, where you're playing like, oh, I've got Jordan and Pippen. It's like we have the full lineup of people doing ridiculous stuff, but it's all names that I recognize. Versus like, oh, well, it's going to be these like 7 or 8 confirmed great players, and then also a bunch of gods and like weird, I don't know. Could be any like monsters and deities or whatever. Who knows, right?
Right.
Like, and fucking Simon Belmont shows up. Like, I don't know. Like, it could be anything.
I mean, it could definitely go into like the Fortnite, and get the guys from Peak show up and run around.
And the kind of
I always think that stuff's funnier when they lean into them, not like Thor using lightning there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not doing that, but also just having to play like by regular rules.
He has to run around in his like really heavy leather looking suit. All the guys are wearing shorts and jerseys. He's like, oh my God, I gotta do zap,
Like, I get why you put like powers and things in there, but I just when you're thinking about things like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if this character played soccer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more interesting to not have like those weird powers, but
it definitely feels like FIFA saying, "Hey, we're going to make our own soccer game with bribing and hookers." Like, I mean, that kind of idea, and then to be like, "This is the first thing we bring out ahead of because it's got to be ahead of the World Cup. We have to have a FIFA game come out ahead of the World Cup to show that we're successful people and definitely not like a big fucking ripoff." And so to have that be your shining example of here's a mobile game for you guys to play soccer, and it not be like EA's FIFA, right? To not be like a soccer simulation game. Feels a little weird, feels a little detached from, I think, what people are expecting out of like, the beautiful game, like that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, the whole point of like NBA Jam was that it was a game that played like basketball, but like how you wanted the feeling of basketball.
Yes.
Right? Things were a little exaggerated, but
Yeah,
still fairly real.
That's sort of arcade.
Like it's arcadey, but it's not like suddenly everybody has like super stretch arms,
Right.
or can throw lightning or anything like that. They're still playing the base game, and I feel like that's still what people ultimately want when they're playing a sports simulation game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
I
a
think
little
so.
bit goofy, but not like outside of the realm of.
Yeah. I guess at a certain point, yeah, you get into
Because I
you know,
think you're just
Mario
making. I think
Strikers
you're
or
just making a
something.
different game at that point, which is fine.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. Actually, yeah, it's a good point. Mario Strikers being a good example of like an evolution of a more arcade feeling soccer game. Huh.
What else you got for us, Paul?
The Marvel, what the heck is it called? Marvel Token. Tokon.
Yep.
The Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls by Arc System Works. Just gotten a bit of buzz. It's supposed to be a super cool new fighting game with all the Marvel characters and stuff. And one of the so they're coming up with new update, adding some new characters. Penny Parker, as in with her
Giant spider mech.
giant spider mech,
Yeah.
is showing up, and some other stuff. And one of the things that they're doing is so it generates. So you make up the game. It's like a tag fighter, right? So
Yeah.
you make up a squad of people that you can like tag in and do different things with. And so the name of your team apparently is generated based on
The combination.
composition of your team.
Okay.
And what that means is that so there's a limited number, I guess. It's not like you name them whatever you want. So it's
Right.
just it takes like your team leader as will have like a certain word or name, and then the second word will be based on the remaining composition of the team. Apparently.
Interesting. Okay.
And so that means that they can have like the announcer shout out your team name and stuff. So I don't know. It's like say try out different combinations, discover cool, surprising, or just plain fun team names.
So if you pick Penny Parker, your team name will always start with Sugoi, which is kind of great.
And then generate a second word based on the remaining composition of your team.
Neato.
Unfortunately, this video doesn't have like
Any examples of it?
a bunch of examples of different teams, but you get Penny Parker. They're adding the Nowhere new stage for Nowhere, as in from Guardians of the Galaxy, which it looks like it's sort of doing kind of sort of pretending or looking initially like sort of an old school sort of sprite-based fighter.
Yeah.
Right.
And then doing like, wait, but it actually has 3D stuff. Haha.
I mean, the
Surprise.
style in this looks really good.
Yeah. It's been getting some very positive stuff. Anyway,
Cool.
what else we got going on here? Pragmata.
Yeah.
Which is
It's the girl robot with the oversized coat.
which I feel like maybe we need to narrow that down a little bit.
Okay.
Little girl with robot.
Long blonde hair, big blue puffy coat. You've seen her.
Oh, this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. The little girl that's kind of like, is this girl like a little ghost? Is she like some
I think
sort of
she's
other
a
thing?
robot.
Yeah.
I think she's just a little girl that's not wearing shoes.
Okay.
Not a ghost.
She's
She's like, you're a ghost.
Oh, she sells
just-
matches for a
just
living.
not wearing
Okay.
She's got feet. She can't be a ghost.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Forgot about that.
Anyway, so this coming up looks like a super cool game.
This is why you can't defeat ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
They come pre-defeated. So it's gotten some super. It looks super neat. Like I'm actually kind of interested in it. But in the Sony State of Play event, there's an interview, a translated interview where they're talking about AI in game development, but in a different way than you might be thinking, because they're talking about for Pragmata, the premise we want to set up was a fake New York generated by AI.
Okay.
So they have a team of artists carefully building a New York, but a New York that is like subtly weird and warped
because
they want it to seem kind of surreal.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which also seems
they want
like
to make it clear that this is not the real New York.
Yeah.
And we want something slightly distorted.
feels like a kind of a nice way if you wanted to skewer what modern AI is incapable of. Obviously, that you'd be like, oh yeah, we can lay this out as like this is indicative of all the mistakes you would see a generative AI be making when it tries to do things.
So yeah, although the premise is that it's generated by AI, actually our human developers painstakingly work to incorporate mechanisms that express AI-like uncanny feel. So, I mean, the term AI in this case is used like, in the past we would have just used like surreal or I'm thinking about that, there's that like that place in like Vegas that's like the supermarket that like you open.
Omega Mart.
Omega Mart.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
That sort of thing where you're sort of like, it's like all kind of weird things, which,
The kind of thing that makes you, it's almost dreamlike.
Yeah.
Because it's the stuff that when you see in dreams, your brain's like, that's not.
Which, to be fair, dreamlike stuff is something that AI is actually pretty good at doing because it kind of makes no sense and just kind of weird shapes and familiar things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And small
I like the idea
goblins in your mirror.
of people making it though, because then it's like, no, we know we're going to get it right.
And what the interesting thing he talks about is that he said that crafting these AI or these sort of distortions or AI errors requires careful consideration and balancing in order to be visually interesting without distracting the player. Saying a distortion is when something takes a shape that people have never seen before, or things unseen before are considered unique. But if the shapes are too unusual, players might think they're related to puzzles.
Yes.
Or that the terrain has been some hidden meaning.
Oh, Jesus. Blueprints has been bad for me.
Yeah, because they know you're a gamer. So, that's what you're trying to look for. You're trying to look for the gaming elements.
Yeah. And so they want to be like, this looks weird, but not in like a weird way that you have to actually investigate. It's just cool.
Yeah.
What an odd,
that's neat.
What an odd way to come at this as well, because you're like, okay, I have two thoughts. One is about the nature of surreality, but also like the use of that term. But the other thought is just like,
Would it be surrealism?
Surrealism, I guess. Yeah,
I just don't know.
That's a real word.
I don't know the
what
word
I
that
said
you
was
said.
not.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
The word you said is real, but
okay.
The idea of we had our artists design something that feels subtly off and uncanny and unusual, like that. I'm using those words and not saying the word surreal because that means that your artists have to have a really good backdrop in like it's not backdrop. They have to have a really good background. They have to have a lot of study in the things that don't belong when it comes to art, right? There's a lot of like Edward Hopper paintings, which I watched a great art explained on Edward Hopper, and I'm just like, man, I really like this guy. There's a lot of subtle emotion in those paintings when you look at them, and they always seem out of place. Like the subjects but also like the landscape and everything else, something always seems out of place. I'm like, there's nothing surreal about what's going on in an Edward Hopper painting. They're always very based in reality, but there's always something subtly wrong with when you're looking at them. You're like, I don't like the feeling I'm getting. There's like an alienation of it, or there's a loneliness to it. But even when there kind of isn't, there's just like, something doesn't seem right about what it is that I'm looking at. And somebody once said that when you look at Nighthawks, which is Edward Hopper's, one of his most famous paintings,
right?
Well, the thing that's most immediately obvious is there's no door on the cafe to come in. It's like, how do you get into that cafe? There's actually no door there for you to come in through. But when you see it, it doesn't feel like that's wrong, but it is wrong. And we've played lots of video games that are made that way. When you're walking down a street or whatever, there's doors on businesses that you can't interact with.
Oh yeah, I make fun of that all the time.
So that's already wrong to begin with. But if you didn't have the doors there, you'd be like, well, this feels even worse, because now you're like, how would I even get into this place if it was a real place? Like so many places that artists design don't feel like places sometimes, because they don't feel like they're an interactable space. And then you end up like feeling like I'm bouncing off this because there's something wrong with it. And to then say, how do we design a space the way an AI would hallucinate it. We don't like hallucination anymore. I get that, but how it would be spit out into the world. Do you have to generate a bunch of stuff, or do you go online and be like, I'm looking just for AI art now, I need to find as many examples as possible to try to inspire that idea?
Not examples of AI art specifically, but examples of how can you tell AI art apart.
Right. That's actually a good point.
Because that's going to be the studies that actually show you, here's some stuff that's like why you can tell.
Yeah. And so it's like, is that just giving a statue 6 fingers on one hand if they're putting their hand up? It's like, maybe, but maybe it's giving the statue 2 elbows. Like that kind of thing of, or having like, it has to be, how subtle does it have to be, or how badly rendered does it have to be? Do you have to have something that has 3 arms all of a sudden and be like, oh, that's very obviously wrong?
I mean, that depends on how wrong you're trying to go for, right?
Yeah.
Like if you go too far,
yeah,
then that hits the distraction part.
But then, like, coming at, I'm not an art history person either. The second point I wanted to bring up was about the nature of surrealism. And I'm like, when I think of surrealism, the first thing that pops into mind is Salvador Dali. I think it's for a lot of people who don't have a large, like a lot of knowledge about it. They kind of come to like Dali immediately. And I think of the persistence of time. So like melting clocks and whatever else. And I'm like, right. So when we speak about things like that, what is different for saying uncanny or incorrect versus something that is surreal? Because like a melting clock is not an uncanny image. It's just it's a thing where it's like, if that was a real clock, it wouldn't work that way, and clocks don't melt, and that's an unusual thing to look at. But it also is like the nature of like calling something surreal feels to me like you have to cross yet another threshold to say you've left from like this one thing of like, that's just implemented in a weird way and it's wrong. It's like, no, this is meant to be saying more.
Within art, I think that would be based on the intention.
Yeah.
Because usually uncanny is people trying to obtain a certain thing that's not making it.
And they can't make it. Yeah.
I think there are degrees too, right? Like, yes, something doesn't have to be totally like, melting clocks to be surreal.
Right.
you
can have things that are subtly surreal.
Yeah, like I always picture Uncanny Valley as more of a thing of
trying to do
it
and
like
failing.
they're trying to do it, but like your response to like why you find something uncanny versus why you find something surreal is more like uncanny makes you want to run away.
Yeah.
It makes you not want to be there. Not in that like, oh, this makes me uncomfortable because I have to think of things that I didn't want to think about, but it like
it's generating
it kind
a warning.
of hits like a weird fight or flight for you.
Right.
Whereas surreal is almost mesmerizing.
But it is an interesting aspect where, because like as you were saying with the thing with the doors, like so much of what are sort of standard video game things don't make any sense in the real world. Like, most most like levels in a video game don't really work very well, like wouldn't work very well as actual buildings.
Yeah.
And so like if you're like, oh man, this video game has this like weird surreal element to it where like, I go into here and there's this like really long, like why would a building have this really long elevator?
Yeah.
And it's like, and then why would there be just like a pizza on the ground right here? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes things are just there because it's a weird video game.
Yeah. And
I say a game famously, Oni, the game, an early Bungie game.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite games actually. Super neat game, but could have been so much better than it was.
Yeah.
It had definitely had a missed potential. But one of the famous things about it is that initially anyway, they were advertising the fact that they were like, the levels are being designed in like architectural software.
Yes.
So they're designed like real buildings and real things. Turns out real buildings are really boring. Like an office building is like 30 floors of the same thing over and over and over again.
Yep.
Because that's how offices are made.
Yep. Yeah.
There's like
not our office. You've seen the Moonbase movie. You know that our
Yeah.
In town, there's like a building that I walk past every so often that just on the side of the buildings is just a very normal square looking building. It says church, like in like just a very regular font that every time I see it makes me go, I'm in a video game right now,
Yeah.
because they had to label that.
Yeah.
Is
They're
what
like-
it is. What?
I mean, we were playing Digimon, the Time Masters, whatever the hell.
Time Detective something. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is. When we were playing that on Send Codes or Bonus Stream or whatever we were doing, we were in an office building at one point in that game, and I'm like, this is not a real place. But then you make it into like other parts of the office building. It's like, oh, this starts to feel more like a real place. But then they also had to break the building. Like they had to bust it up and do like all sorts of other stuff, because they're like, it will be uninteresting for you to run around in what seems like a bunch of it seems like a bunch of classrooms, or like ultimately, because it's just like there's a room here that has places where people could have worked, but all the desks have been shoved to the side and all the other things have been moved around, but now there's like debris and everything too, and you're like, right, this is a mix of, because there's been an earthquake, there's a mix of whatever, and now you're going to run down between floors by a floor that is caved out on one end, so you basically run down one floor to the other level. I was like, right, you have to take the thing and break it to actually make it interesting in this context, which is the example I always throw up is Eco. Is that Eco for the PlayStation 2, and I love that game dearly because it really does get so close to you are in a castle. There are some weird platforming stuff that's in there, but when you are moving around inside this castle, it tries to reinforce that if you're moving from this place to this place, you don't just immediately end up in some weird giant ass room in wherever. It's like, no, all these things have to make sense for each other, and the place feels like a real place. And there has been very few games I've played since that give you a sense of place the way Eco does.
What's that game with the shadow?
Lost in Shadow.
Lost in Shadow,
Absolutely
right?
messed that up.
You're a shadow, so you have to do, and that game's really hard because everything in the foreground is much more visually interesting.
Right.
So it's hard on your eyes for that reason, but also in order to make a lot of the puzzles work, because you have to move shadows and things around to do whatever, which is a fun puzzle thing to do.
Yes.
You're just kind of looking at a bunch of buildings and like, none of this makes any sense.
Yeah.
This is like, why is this room even in existence? Why did they design this room this way? It's more distracting on top of the visuals being the way they are.
There's a fun or a Super Nintendo game that I remember quite fondly. I don't know if it's actually any good, but I remember enjoying it as a kid. Called Harry's Humongous Adventure.
Oh,
that sounds familiar.
And it's about you're this like kid scientist who gets shrunk.
Okay.
And so it's him like going through his house trying to find the parts to his shrinking machine to get him thing.
Right.
But it's got this great, it's got this completely bonkers, like, you go to like the bathroom area but it's like bathroom is like the tile set. Right?
Yeah.
So there's like, 10 different bathtubs of different sizes and shapes because it's a jumping puzzle.
Yeah.
And you're going around different things, and then there's just like different, like, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't even pretend to try to make sense.
Yeah. It's I always hated that with a lot of those style of games, like, because Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers did that, and there's like, I think there's a stage where you're like on a ship for some reason,
Right.
But of course you're chipmunk sized. So you'd think that, oh, well, where I am has to do with like also what size I am. But as you're moving around, it's like going up, platforming on the masts and stuff and everything else. Is like, this is not a real ship.
How many masts are on this ship?
Yeah, and also I'm big enough on this ship that this is like, must feel like a ship in the bottle, like a toy ship. And then you like go to the kitchen in a house somewhere. And again, it's like dozens of sink taps and like, and all these burners and stuff, but everything is sized large for like a human, because of course that's what Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers is like. They're living in a human world and they're trying to like rescue things, and so the show is very good at representing that. And it's like, right, but the video game can't.
Yeah.
It just has to give you the trappings of
like,
making you feel like you're in that.
The Pikmin games, where you're very small, are generally pretty good. Like there's parts where you kind of walk across things and you're like, that's
How many
That's a little
Burners are on
strange.
this stuff.
But yeah, in the house, it's like if you see a weird thing, it kind of feels like somebody was setting up a play area for kids or something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the one thing that has bothered me in the house level of Pikmin 4 is that there is just a burner on and no one seems to be home. And I'm like, no, I can't deal with this.
Yeah, I want to turn that off. Right.
That shouldn't be on.
Yeah.
Why is that on?
Yeah.
Chibi Robo.
Yeah.
Now, Chibi Robo has people and things moving around in the house at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
It might be a visual nightmare to
and
look at, but
Very weird, like aliens and all kinds of just goofy things, like to the point where I think you kind of just start forgiving it because
Yeah.
what else are you going to do? Like, do you really want to try to explain why there's an army of eggs trying to do combat maneuvers?
yeah.
No. But remember, like, just the two of us had that problem too.
It takes
'Cause
two?
It takes two. Sorry, yeah. Because that's another one where you get shrunk, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going through, and some of the areas kind of make sense, and then there's like, it's like you're in whatever, like the garage. And it's like there are a lot of shelves in this garage. But my favorite, or the weirdest one, there's a part where you're in like your daughter's bedroom,
Right, yeah.
her like playroom, and so the whole world area is like based around, it's like blocks and do all this stuff, except like they could have just been like, it's magic in this magic world where you're all shrunk and turned into like paper dolls and magic stuff happens, and
Yeah,
that's
like,
how it goes.
Like when we have to interact with squirrels and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but then there's actually like voice lines where the two people are like, "Wow, she's been making all these wonderful forts." And stuff like
we're trying to justify
we're
it.
trying to justify it. It's like, don't
Yeah.
try to justify this.
Yeah.
It's like when like the fact that your character can't interact with doors. Like, I like it when the video game never has them interacting with any door, like even like cutscene doors, because I do like the idea that I literally can't go into a building that has a door on it. Like, somehow that is like protection.
Yeah.
People have figured out that I, as a person who will go around and F your shit up, breaking
Yeah.
pots and stuff, can't get through that door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Doesn't know how to work a doorknob. Just put a door in the way and they're fine.
Yep.
Anyway, it's funny, the sort of tropes that you have in video games.
I mean, it's like if you look in the hallways of The Shining, there are way too many doors in the hallways of that hotel to actually belong to the number of rooms that are there.
No, I
Right.
refuse. That's a scary movie. You can't make me.
That's
Yeah.
one of those. I love that. One thing I love about the analysis of that movie is people are like, look, it's like all so weird. It's like there's this here, but then like in the reverse angle, you realize that like there's no space for where that room would be.
Yeah.
Here, it makes it look all spooky, and it's like, or is it because they've messed up the
Yeah.
shot?
Yeah. I mean, Kubrick's very like particular about his shit, and yeah.
I mean, that just dials down to you expect games or movies or things to follow the rules that they've put out, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes to a game that's, hey, we're in a room and look at all the stuff in the room. If you're getting distracted by why is this room like that, they've probably put out the idea that the rule should be that this space should exist.
Yeah. Hey, how many Pokemon should there be?
I know the answer to this one and I hate it.
Because there's
There's
Pokemon,
over 1,000 right now.
Yeah, Pokemon Champions is just came out or will be coming out. I think it
Right.
just
So that's
came out.
basically Pokemon Stadium.
Right. It's just the fighting
It's
part.
just the fighting part. People are very excited about that. So that's great. If they put in the mini games that came in Pokemon Stadium, then I think that's even better. But I
Alrighty.
don't think they're doing that.
So they're talking about how saying we're planning on keeping Pokemon Champions far into the future, basically forever, as long as the Pokemon series is continuing. And who knows? Far in the future, we'll have 2,000, 3,000, maybe 10,000 Pokemon.
Jesus.
If we had all those available to be played, I think it would just become such a complicated situation. So the idea is that we're going to have a limited selection available, shifting over time. So he's talking about how if they have, for instance, 10,000 Pokemon,
Sure.
they're all not going to be available in Pokemon Champions. they won't all be balanced against each other.
Sure.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to this case, I wonder if they're counting regionals or like variations or whatnot, because when you think about it, we haven't been over the 1,000 point for a long time, and Pokemon's been out for like 30 years. So whenever they bring out a new game, it's like maybe like a new generation, it's like maybe 100 to 150
Right.
depending on whatever. To state like 10,000, so if we're talking like 10,000 Pokedex entries, that's like way beyond any of our lifetimes.
Yeah.
That's too far to think about.
But then you think about, there are lots of, there's lots and lots and lots of different animals. So every animal could be a Pokemon, I guess.
I mean, if you think of like, if I take a horse
Some
and
of those
compare it,
Pokemon are just people.
if I compare a horse to a zebra, or zebra for those who like that, if you compare those two animals together, there's slight variation between them. Compared to a horse and a fish, right? Like it's that, if you're comparing two things, it's like, oh, a horse and a zebra seem to be a lot closer related in terms of what they are and what their abilities are in terms of the real world.
I feel like this is one of those things where somebody's going to be like,
Actually,
yeah.
And-
Turns out horses and fish are closer relatives
Yeah.
than horses and zebras.
and so if you
for
take,
weird reasons.
if you take Pikachu,
there are things that happen that way. Yeah.
yeah, if you take Pikachu and you stand next to Plusle or Minun, right, who
Yeah.
look like damn near identical. There's always like a new, different kind of Pikachu every generation, right? But it's like if you stand Pikachu and Plusle and Minun together, they're like, oh, they look like they're all part of the same species, like that kind of thing. But they're not. In much the same way that you put a horse and a zebra together, you get a white horse and you sit next to a zebra, and you're like, oh, I see that one of these things has stripes and one of them doesn't. And it's like, well, actually, no, they're a little wider distributed than what you think they are.
And that was offensive to both the horse and
the
the zebra. Yeah.
exactly. And I'm like, what's gonna happen is, like, Plusle and Minun are still electric mice, are they ultimately
I
not?
think so.
Yeah, and I'm just like, so if we have tens of hundreds of thousands of different species of any sort of animal living on planet Earth, and you try to replicate that in Pokemon, you're going to get boring. You already have kind of boring similarities between some of the monsters. And that's not great for novelty. And so if you try to say, well, we'll end up having like maybe 10,000, 20,000 different Pokemon in the future, it's like, you won't, because you can't. They won't be interesting enough for the kids who are playing the game to want to memorize all 10,000.
Well,
that's
why-
9,999 plus 1.
That's why I ask what we're counting, because like when they brought out Legends EA, it was Pokemon we've seen before, but they added new Mega Evolutions.
Right.
And so
Are those new
in
Pokemon?
a game that's like in Pokemon proper, the mainline stuff, it would still be like, oh, you have a Mega Evolution of Gengar. Well, it's just Gengar, right? But in
Yeah.
a game that's about, hey, you have Pokemon fighting each other, you might actually have a difference where it's like, oh, well, no, that Vulpix is the Alolan one, so that is different. In the same way that like the card game has different variations of stuff, and those are separate cards,
Right.
even though they probably have the same attacks.
Yeah, and it like in Magic the Gathering, where there's like, it's a lot of different Jaces that you can be playing as. It's like, yeah, there can be a bunch of different Pikachus in the Pokemon thing, and it's like, that's fine. We've come to understand that you can have different representations of the same animal.
Yeah, because I think Verilion is the name of the butterfly Pokemon that has a bunch of different wing designs depending on the
Oh yeah,
place that you catch them from,
and that's
Well, that's
something
cool.
I love.
or
is
regional even.
regional variations, like having different regional variations of different Pokemon, covers that ground of how do we represent this, like how to represent a Eurasian lynx versus a Canadian lynx, right? Like they're different lynx. They're still lynxes. They were probably come from a ancestor that they share, but they are different lynxes at this point. It's like, how do you show off how different
Regional
they are?
variants were actually a really interesting idea.
Yeah, and I think doing more of that is a really cool idea too. And nobody's looking for Pokemon to be they fucking well better not be looking for Pokemon to be a representation, a one-to-one representation of the kind of biodiversity that we have on our real planet.
I don't want to say nobody's looking for that, but I'm gonna say it seems unlikely.
I think there's a lot of kids who wish that were true and want to be like, I want to have all these different things. It's like, I know what you want, but not everybody out there is going to be that into having 10,000 different. That's not even. I'm sure. Like when I was buying hockey cards, I couldn't buy 10,000 different hockey players for hockey cards. You know, like I'm sure there have been 10,000 different like NHL hockey players who have existed, but it's like I wasn't interested in collecting every single card for every single player.
Sure.
You know,
I mean, really, when you get down to it, this statement is just like because we had this happen, I think a few games ago for Pokemon where they said we're not going to put every single Pokemon in every single game.
Sword and Shield.
Because we can't, it's become untenable.
Yeah.
And this really could just be
They're getting out ahead of it.
Yeah, we don't really necessarily expect there will be 10,000 Pokemon one day, but even if there were, we're already letting you know we're going to cycle things in and out. We're going to do this, like this is how we already intend to handle it.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, the intention was never to put all of them
what
in
Pokemon kind of ended up getting themselves into, which is the expectation that all of those Pokemon will be there because that was part of how that game worked for a long time of like keeping your Pokemon and moving them forward, which they still kind of do with Pokemon Home as it's an in between. But it's not really what
for some weird inexplicable reason, people got it into their heads that they had to catch all the Pokemon.
Yeah.
Who knows why they thought that, but
they used to have a really catchy song that went along with it, I think.
You could name all 151.
Where you could name all of them, and then you had to.
Yeah. That does blow my mind when thinking about that. It's like having 151 Pokemon back then was the kind of thing that people were like, oh my God, you can what? And it's like, yeah, you can catch any one of these 151 Pokemon. It is possible to do. It's like, that's so many.
Yeah.
It's like now there's over 1,000, my guy.
I know you didn't play Pokemon when it came out, but when I played Gold and Silver originally, and they had that thing in whatever magazine that was like, oh, you can get, was it Gold and Silver? Or maybe it was the first one. But I think it might have been Red and Blue when they had the thing that was like, oh, hey, you can get Mew 151. Mail your cartridge to whatever location. We'll put it on the game and we'll send it back to you. That was the coolest thing to me at the time.
Yes.
And also the most terrifying idea on the planet.
Yes. I have to give up my cartridge.
That I would have to move. That anything could happen to my cartridge in the mail, but I was so tempted.
And all your little Pokemons were stored on the cartridge
because I could get this very special Pokemon.
Yeah.
This way, I never did it because I was not. Yeah, Gen 2 was Celebi, but I think that was in the game. Was that not an unlock thing? I can't remember because they did the remaster, and I remember Soul Silver better than I remember Silver.
It reminds me a little bit of, again, you're talking about magic stuff, that like the original concept that Richard Garfield had for magic was that like rarity was originally not listed on the cards.
Yeah.
And the idea that he had was that nobody would have all the cards and nobody would know all the cards. And so you'd be like playing with your friend, you'd be like, whoa, what's that card?
Right.
And like there'd be all sorts of stuff. He didn't take into account, I mean, one, the internet, but also people's obsession with like he thought people would like buy the starter thing and like a pack.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And then they would just play with each other and like play for ante or trade cards back and forth. And like every once in a while you'd meet a new guy and he didn't think that people would buy boxes of booster packs.
Yeah, why would anybody do that? Holy shit.
And so he didn't realize that, because the original set had like 250 cards or something in it.
My God. That's all you ever need to play a game.
Yeah. But it's like Pokemon, right? It's like 150 Pokemon. That's so many Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's like more Pokemon than you could ever catch. Nobody will know all those Pokemon.
I love the idea that now his
kidding?
dream has
You
been
could get-
truly realized, and that no one knows every single card.
If you
True.
if you catch all the Pokemon,
Not
at
even
least
Wheeler.
in the first game, you get like a little certificate. It's like your Pokemon Master. You've caught like all whatever 150.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to catch
Yeah.
Mew for that. But you could also print it out on the Game Boy printer.
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
all these things that I couldn't do as a kid. I really wanted to do. I didn't have a friend who had another copy of the game, either.
Oh no.
So I was never gonna be able to catch.
I will say that every time I've sent something to Nintendo, I've always gotten it back.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that like it wouldn't have worked.
No.
Just
No,
you know,
I get that.
I was terrified of the idea of putting this thing especially because I paid for that
Yeah.
game. So to put it in the mail, if it got lost at all, I wasn't getting it back. It wasn't even like the time of I'd have to replay the game. I just would not have that game anymore.
Yeah. It's
It would
yeah.
have gone forever.
Yeah. At that point, you might, because it'll be gone for 3 or 4 weeks. You'll be like, no, I no longer own that game.
Yeah.
It's just I
Oh,
put it in
man,
the mail.
if the kids in my class had been Nintendo fans, I would have had so many friends. They were all fucking into Sega at the time.
Yeah, Heather grew up in Brazil.
Yeah,
All right.
apparently.
For our final story today. Things are tough all around. And that even goes into video games. Because Capcom has revealed some stats for the Resident Evil 4 remake. The merchant in Resident Evil 4 remake. They're like, what are you buying?
Right.
What are you selling?
Okay.
He's
Oh.
a very sort of iconic character.
These are fun stats, like how many people turn into cheese and stuff, right?
Yes. Well,
I mean, I know that's a different game,
Yes.
but like I don't know what happens in Resident Evil other than scary things. So I'm
this
hoping
is-
for like
How
fun
many times
facts.
does
yeah,
Grace
this is
turn
a
into
weird.
cheese?
This is like this weird, creepy merchant guy
Okay.
who is you can like find in weird secret places and
Yeah.
buy and
Of
sell
course,
things
the one with
from
the tank controls, right, chat?
So in total, since Resident Evil 4 remake came out, the merchant has sold 39 trillion 914 million 914 billion 290 million 669,099 currency, the old Spanish currency of pesetas, which is what you
I
were
mean, I
paying
know
him
clearly,
Oh, I see.
clearly based on those numbers, the market is there, but you would think he wouldn't live in Raccoon City anymore.
39 trillion pesetas.
for. Yeah, so he has sold a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, you can buy and sell stuff to him.
Oh, which means he never has
And
money.
unfortunately, people have sold over 43 trillion worth of stuff to him.
This might be not
Yeah.
a great business plan.
So
They have been-
apparently he's currently $3 trillion in the rears.
Which is like most there's some large countries out there that are having that kind
this
of trouble.
this is not a good business plan.
I'm
No.
It's a tough deal.
I'm kind of shocked that gamers have gone out of their way to ruin this game's economy.
Or
Maybe-
just this man's life.
Yeah, maybe he should, stop accepting everything that anybody is willing to sell him.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
would
yeah,
probably help. But yeah, he's got to be a little bit like somebody looking at his books and is like, man, you got a lot of business here, but you're just not making the ends meet here. You gotta.
Yeah.
You understand? They seem so desperate, and I just want to help them
Yeah, I
by
just
buying
want,
their stuff.
yeah, and I just want to sell them, ammo and giant missile launchers and things, and
They look like they're having a hard time.
It's just kind of astounding to think that it's like that much commerce is being, and I mean, because like you make an easy thing of it being like, well, he's buying a thing off you for 40,000 pesetas, and then you're spending like 150,000 pesetas on something. It's like, yeah, but then to get down to the thing of like 389 is like the last three numbers. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that are going to be worth only a few coin. So, or a variation of a few coins somehow
Okay.
is worked into the price. And
If
it's
you
like, yeah,
knew, because
interesting.
Marquette's brought up, oh, how do you think the enemies in game get their weapons? And I know that's like a tongue-in-cheek thing, but if you knew in the game that you were playing
Yeah.
that if you sold off a bunch of your old weaponry to get money so that you could
They
buy the
would, like-
weaponry that you need, that would impact what weapons that the enemies got.
The idea that the enemies have like an economy all their own would actually be pretty amazing.
selling that stuff, or would you be like, you know what, you can only have knives because somehow that means every enemy in this game will only try to hit me with a knife and I have a gun?
Right. Actually, it's kind of amazing because it would mean that if you can find a way to generate and outspend them, then you can reduce how dangerous they can possibly be.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like they're like, we can't have a coup now, guys, because we don't have the literal unending
the
army of us.
Only merchant who exists in the game keeps getting all their stock bought out by the player character, and therefore we have nothing.
to completely change how Lord of War would have gone for
It's gonna be
Nicolas
fun
Cage.
in a way. It's
Yeah.
almost like an item management level beyond.
That's the Jeff Bezos method of beating the video game.
Well, thanks for ruining my
Yeah.
thoughts.
What if we're the bad guys? What if we just buy? There's a great there's a game I played it on stream, I think. There's an Indiana Jones point and venture game called Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the really neat things about it is there's 3 paths that you can take.
Oh.
They
Go
are
to Atlantis, don't go to Atlantis, go home.
no,
Do they all come back to
Yeah,
the-
they all converge.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
But through about a third of maybe half of the game, there's sort of 3 wildly different thing. You go to sort of the same locations.
Okay.
But the way you like accomplish things is totally different. And
Okay.
like in one way you have like somebody with you who helps you out and stuff, and one way you don't, and different things. But there's like, I want to use my brains to do it. I want to like use my my brawn to do it. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
ones where you can like fight people, and there's like, I want to do it with Sophie, who's like your buddy.
Right.
So it's like, I need to do it with you. But what I love of the brains version one, a large portion of it is you can just like you can just like pick up like any game like this, you can just take stuff.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
And so there's a whole part of the game where you just bribe people to tell you the information you need.
Awesome. That's great.
Whereas, the other version, you have to like, do some sort of
So,
tricky thing or beat somebody up or do a
It seems
thing.
less like a brain route and more like I have a lot of money route.
Yeah. Well,
Money fight.
but how
I'm-
do you get the money? Brains.
I punch people and I take it.
That's the other route. There's that.
Right.
That's a good route too. There's a punching route. Anyway, it's a super
I
good.
take their money and they don't say no.
It's a super good game.
I
Actually.
do like
It's-
punchy,
It's,
thinky, or puzzly. That's good, Fire Whiskers.
it's one of the. It's one of the sort of golden age of like LucasArts adventure games.
Yeah.
Which Indiana Jones, you would probably guess was LucasArts. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. That was the last piece of news that I thought we should talk about. And we have once again gone way long. But, there was lots of things to talk about.
There was lots of
we had
discussion
we had to
and
talk about how,
Things. And
whether certain Pokemon were good for a
there was a
relationship.
lot of Pokemon talk in this one, which, I mean, I know we can talk about Pokemon quite easily, but usually we've got more than wedding rings.
Yeah.
And someone said there might be 10,000 one day.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us. If you haven't seen this week's episode of ChillPoint, you should do that. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's up on our YouTube channel, so you should probably already be there. YouTube.com/LRRVG. And you can see all of our other stuff on other various YouTube channels. You can support us over at Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. And you can support us by subscribing here on Twitch or becoming a member of the YouTube channel. in which case you will get your name in the credits at the end of Checkpoint.
Yeah.
And
also, if you're going to watch Checkpoint, you should watch all the way to the end.
It's true.
Because
There's
there's always like a
there's
tiny
some-
little clip that I think is really fun. And this one doesn't even come from in the stories this time.
It's true.
I don't even know if they knew the camera was actually on when that one was happening.
I was like,
I like it when Paul doesn't tell them when he's actually recording.
I told them I was recording, but they seemed to ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine too.
I was like, I'm recording. And then they just started doing that.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I guess that's going to go in the outtakes.
Oh, there's nothing that makes me not want to put something in the outtake more than when someone says, oh, this will go in the outtakes. I'm like, well, guess
yeah,
what?
Yeah.
That's why I didn't say anything.
You don't get that choice.
I said
Exactly.
I said it in my own mind, but I didn't say it on the thing. Anyway, we will see all y'all later. Bye.